The Survivor Specialists, Phil, Will, and Blake are back, and today we have made it to part number 5 of our Survivor winner rankings, the top 10. If you've been following along with us the entire time, that means you know who the top 10 are. You just don't know the order that the top 10 are going to be in, and we are here to break that all down here, controversy-free as always. The Wilgorithm totally doesn't get involved at all today. It actually doesn't, Will. I actually think your Wilgorithm might have helped this ranking. We'll get into that when we get there.
It's helped all the rankings.
It has
I
not.
will take no Wilgorithm slander. It's an attempt to rid ourselves of our biases and our predetermined thoughts.
Blake is going full cross. Jesus on the
it's
cross.
It's something
I'm free of all bias now.
It is to well, your rankings aren't. It's an attempt.
No, that's what your Wilgorithm has done for me.
I'm shocked the internet doesn't love the Wilgorithm.
You know what's crazy, Will?
The Wilgorithm, hold on. The Wilgorithm is giving a voice to the voiceless, to the confessionalists, lists, like the Ericas and the Natalie Whites. And the internet usually stands for those under-edited queens. Where is that love for the Wilgorithm? Because that's what the Wilgorithm does. That's the results of it, basically, where it's like, wow, actually, these players played really good games statistically, and we give them no credit because the show went out of its way not to tell their stories. Usually the internet is like snapping for that or whatever the internet does these days.
I think people, when they see you in real life, are going to think your last name is Go Rhythm based on what this Wilgorithm is going to do for the whole podcast.
Hey, I would take that. That's a good last name, Go Rhythm.
You ranked Adam Klein at 8, and he even commented on our last video and said, "You guys have no credibility left. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I'm off. I'm done with the specialist. The Wilgorithm has ended it all." No, look, we're down to our top 10. We have. I had listed them out last. I'm not going to list them out again because I'll accidentally do them in order. I know you guys had made predictions last time over who you thought was going to be 1 and who you thought was going to be 10. Anything changing your mindset now that, like, you know, Blake, especially for you, the Wilgorithm being in effect here? Is there anything that changed in your mindset? Also, John and McKenna just throwing darts for like 20 of the 50 people. Also.
I feel like John and McKenna's rankings are far worse than my rankings
because they're not here to defend themselves. Poor people.
Oh my!
No, they're just worse. They're just more wrong.
Blake or Will's just running them over with the bus, man. So Blake,
I do think I'll keep my strategy going because it was very successful last time. I think a lot of people watching when they look at this 10 are like, all right, do I need to rewatch Vanuatu because maybe I'm not exactly sure of what Chris D has been doing, but Chris D is one of our favorites. But I do think it's his road that we go down first today, just because it's our personal favorite. It's not everyone's personal favorite. And he is the lowest person left on mine. And then you're asking about my favorite. I may spoil but like, I think we just did this as a community, quote unquote, whenever it was People Magazine or Parade or some shit. What was it?
Entertainment Weekly did a bracket.
Entertainment Weekly did a bracket.
You know, keep guessing publications, Blake. You'll get there.
Entertainment Weekly did a bracket that had Todd win. Is that going to be repeated today?
Not if the Wilgorithm can help it. That's for sure. All right. Well, Blake, I like your opinions there. I like where you're going with this. Let's pull this up. Hopefully I didn't do this in the wrong order. I was rushing this one today, guys. I just was not prepared. So here we are. I'm not going to go through every winner, but as you guys can see here, you can just see the ranking as we go. Let me see if I can. Come on, button. You got this. There it is. Ranking so far. There's 50 to 41. Everybody take a quick gander. I'm not going to read through them all again. I don't think we need to do. Do we need
Underwood
to do
at 50, Erica at 41.
There you go.
Ooh,
and everybody in
I
between.
like highlights.
Yeah. Then we had, of course, our 40 to 31, where Tommy at 32, Savannah at 37.
Jam at 35.
Yeah.
Aubrey at 40, Marianne at 31.
And everyone in between.
30 to 21, Brian Heidick coming in at 21, which was a little crazy. Yule at 23. Michelle, 26.
Mike Holloway at
Wendell.
30 from the Dirty 30.
Whoa.
There you go. There you go. And that was our first Sandra sighting there at 29. So that was our Pearl Island Sandra, which I know some people feel is a better game than Heroes Villains, but we'll get into why Heroes Villains was almost unanimously ranked higher. I think even Will, who had Sandra's games ranked the lowest, I think even had Heroes versus Villains higher. So anyway, we'll get into that when we get there. And then we had last week's, which is the big one, right?
We can do this one by one. I'll do it quick.
Did I go too far? No, I didn't.
No, that's
okay.
This was
All right, good.
Vesepia 20, Parvati at 19. Kyle from the new era is our highest at 18. John Cochran, 17 with a perfect game. Adam Klein at 16. Natalie at 15. Denise went to every tribal council. That gets her 14th. Sarah played like a criminal to get 13. Tina is an all-timer, but gets to 12. And Tom plays the most dominant game based on a lot of metrics, and that'll get him 11th.
Mm-hmm. Every metric except for the one that's taking bias out and putting in only strict factual information. Somehow that one said not a very good game.
The algorithm liked Tom a lot.
Uh-huh.
It was my
It should have put him at number one, probably, right?
That got him outside the top 10. And we discussed Tom last week. You know, I think
we
it's
did discuss Tom last week.
So if you want to hear our thoughts,
let bygone Toms be bygone Toms.
All right, Blake. Thanks. So Blake is thinking Chris Doherty's coming in. Will, you know I'm ranking Chris Doherty very high. You think Chris Doherty's coming in here?
I do think, you know, you might have him number one, but I don't know if that's enough to offset 3 or 4 other rational thinking people plus a very rational algorithm. I think he would have to end up somewhere at 10 or 9. So I feel like that feels correct.
Okay. Trav Herod says that Hatch is the thumbnail. Heart, that Hatch is the thumbnail. This is super chat. Thank you. You should get him on for power rankings. Also, I should be on Surviving the Fandom. Yep. Call up not Teg with McKenna and John and figure that out. Also, Hatch is the thumbnail for now. Hatch will not be the thumbnail much longer. I just did that because we don't have our thumbnail yet, and we're going to get it in there. And I figured, you know what? If we're going to have to make a thumbnail, I might as well just put the person who's
I feel like Hatch
up.
I think Hatch could also appear earlier in this top 10. I definitely didn't have Hatch anywhere near the top 10 just because I think, there we go.
There you go, Will. I did that for you, man, because I kind of was like in and out of one there. Hatch comes in right at 10. So it's funny last week. I feel like this happened the week before too, where we had people being like, how could Brian be in the top or B21 and Vesepia make the top 20? And it's like, okay, guys, Vesepia is about to pop up next. I know last week we actually got quite a bit of crap for Hatch being in our top 10. People were, you know,
I agree. I'm with the fans.
You do realize though, like he invented the game of Survivor.
I don't think that's true. I think it was
really
Charlie
Parsons and
Charlie
Mark Burnett.
Parsons. Yeah. Not even Mark Burnett. Like they were playing this in Sweden long before it was ever in America and I think here's what I'll say. I get that he's the first winner. I get that should be lauded, but like, can we maybe for a second be like, okay, figuring out you need more numbers than the other numbers. Like, yes, good insight for sure. But can we like not be like, wow, Einstein, like figuring out E equals MC squared. We should give him the Nobel Prize. Like, this is not rocket science to be like, okay, I need more votes than the other side. Like
they didn't know that that's what the game was. 15 other people didn't do that.
But I believe if you put if you just pull 16 people randomly, at least one, and likely the person who wins season 1 is going to figure out, oh, we're voting people out. The majority of votes send somebody home. You want to be in the majority so you can control who goes home and so that you don't go home. So I see you saying, Cliff, oh, it's not just the insight, it's the execution. Sure. What I'm getting at here is I think the season 1 winner or anyone who played season 1 had an opportunity to put the pieces together of what the show is. Also, Hatch has one of my favorite quotes, which I appreciate him for saying it, but also kind of undermines and proves my point a little bit. It says outwit on the damn buff, like on the logo. It's outwit, outplay at last. It's not like we can sit here and be like, wow, Hatch came up that this game is about scheming in alliances. Outwit is the first word of the slogan of this show. It's part of the reason this show got sold and developed and came out in the United States. from the get-go, producers know that this is going to be a cutthroat game, that you're going to put 16 strangers, force them to live together and rely on each other and vote each other off one by one. That is going to require some wit. It is called a game from the start. It's not called a Survivor experience. It's not called an expedition, although that is what the show it's based on is called Expedition Robinson. It is called a game. You will hear people say very early on, game. And a game has rules, it has goals, and there are ways to play a game. And using
conditions,
a very basic, very rudimentary strategy. Again, I'm not like knocking Hatch for doing it, but I think there is like a heavy amount. I think he's overpraised for coming up with something that I think a lot of people probably would have put together on a season 1 iteration.
Even though nobody else did. I mean, it's easy to say that when somebody makes it look so simple, but we were also, I mean, that merge vote was 4-1-1, 1-1, 1-1, because nobody literally understood that the best way to go through this game was to actually create an alliance to vote people out.
Well,
and I don't know
if
other people would have come up with that. I think that's a massive assumption because 15 other people did not do this. And I think it's a massive assumption to assume that people would have back then. Sorry.
You said it was 4-1-1-1-1-1. So 4 people clearly did it.
Do you realize like Richard Hatch created that alliance, or do you have like this made up thing where just to prove your point, you're just going to go against all things that are actual facts?
No, but you're saying only so then then what your argument is saying, only one person is able to do it. So that then
if Hatch does not create that alliance, Sue, Rudy, and Wigglesworth do not create an alliance. Like that's pretty standard for that. So without Hatch, nobody's creating that. So yes, but like Hatch created the alliance and made that happen.
If Hatch
is only one of the 16 who figured it out.
Okay, what I'm saying is if Hatch isn't there and just put in player X to like we don't know who it is. You don't think at some point in season 1 a group of people say we should get together and vote together? You think that never happens?
I really don't think it would have.
Okay,
maybe it does at like final 5 or 6, but
that's where I disagree. I think, and maybe it doesn't happen as early, but I think it will 100% happen. It is the nature of the format of the show, and it's not this like crazy innovative thing as we make it out to be. And just because no other people, you're saying Sue, Hatch, and Kelly, or Sue, Kelly, and
you didn't get your coffee. You're good.
Didn't do this. You're saying they didn't do this. Well, yeah, because it was already done by Hatch. And what I'm saying is it does, just because Hatch did it, you're basically saying only one person could have done it per season. The fact that Hatch did it, that's telling me, well, if he wasn't there, that doesn't mean it wouldn't have happened. So
I truly don't think it happens. I think this comment here from Lehigh Valley Bear, no, none of the first cast are going to put an alliance together. They were there for the experience, and many said that. Like, I think that's how people are looking. And Will, you're saying this is inherent to the game, but it really wasn't. Like, people really were going out there saying, that's dirty, that's gross, we don't need to do that. And that was the overall feeling of the entire cast.
Right,
and if Hatch doesn't bring that up, I truly don't think it happens. So we can say it's so simple, it's so basic, but at the same time, it's like, it's so simple and so basic because it had to happen first. Somebody had to do it.
Right.
And
but
Hatch
I guess
did it. So I rank him 6.
I guess what I'm saying is like, it doesn't need to be right from the jump. Like day one, all right, I have an 8-person tribe. Let's get 5 people. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at some point in the season, when you have $1 million at stake, people are going to group together and vote each other out. There would have been an alliance form. I'm very, very confident just on the human experience and condition. Again, I'm not saying it would be a day one thing or this predetermined plan, but getting together for votes when the majority decides and has power, that would happen whether Hatch is there or not.
I have to say this. This is my final point on this. They voted out Gretchen, and then they realized that there was an alliance, and they said, let's let it go like one more vote before we actually like determine that there's an alliance. And that's like, no, it wouldn't have happened. People still did not form the counter alliance to an alliance of 4 at 9 when they realized it was happening, because that's how little they cared about it. So just it wasn't.
Yeah, but that point, there was already. I mean, the power was already. It had already happened at that point. What I'm saying,
Blake, what's your take?
It was inevitable.
Where did you have Hatch, Blake?
I had Hatch at number 7. I think Richard Hatch. I really like the idea that you're talking about, Will, because that's something that I've thought about a lot. Of like, if the people that made the internet didn't exist, would there have been somebody else that made the internet, or would we have lived in an internet-less world? I don't know if there's a a name for that type of phenomenon. But I do think if Richard Hatch wasn't on season 1 of this show, it would have been like, thank you for bringing the most food in. Thank you for being the nicest person. Thank you for picking me up when I fell down. I got off the couch and I hurt my leg, but you got me to the end. You were one of the nicest person. I don't think if we eliminate Richard from the cast, I don't think there's a rats and snake speech. I don't think there's the level of vitriol from some of these people. And okay, well, we're talking about gameplay, Blake, but like, I think whenever we're talking about blueprints of how to win the game, eliminate some of your threats. Well, when Richard eliminates Greg first out of that crew after Gretchen's gone, it's like, who's the only person that can beat me right now? Who's the only person smart? Who am I worried about? Greg. How do I get him gone? Well, I'm going to make some shit up. Because some of these people really like Greg. That's why he's so threatening to me. We got Greg out at 9. I think that's a blueprint thing of like, all right, somebody at the merge is like a strong player who's going to win immunities maybe. Gretchen, bye. Oh, I'm going to eliminate an alliance. Who are the dumbest people left? Let me keep them around as long as possible because they're not going to be able to counter alliance. And then, oh, somebody's voting for alphabets. That'll help us where they will never change. It's like, yes, that's a layup given to you, but nobody slams dunk that layup harder than Richard Hatch, which is really cool that first season. And we see his 3 alliance members come back on future seasons, and they're not hopeless, they're not helpless, but they don't get very far. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's, well, they were all making decisions together, because I watched Wigglesworth do nothing strategically when she came back. And Rudy went home first, because I think if there's anybody who's been a long second, sorry, Tina, went home first from maybe he didn't.
No, he didn't. That's the same tribe. Go ahead, continue.
I'm trying to be right,
you're
but I'm
just
not.
wrong,
I'm
Blake.
not. It's something where when Rudy, I think Rudy is one of the coolest characters, but he was definitely along for the ride. Mm-hmm. And so I think Richard Hatch gets some bonus points for keeping those 4 people together of different personalities. And like, these are people from probably it is like one of the youngest people in the cast and the oldest person in the cast. Like, we're figuring it all out. So I think, a blueprint, if you only have 1 season to watch, you probably don't watch Richard Hatch's season to figure out how to win Survivor, but I think it's probably still a top 5 blueprint on how to win.
For me too, people are bringing up some of Hatch's moves, like the final 3 moment of, if he takes Rudy, he's going to be in a bad spot, right? Because if he takes Rudy, he's going to lose to Rudy. But if he doesn't take Rudy, Rudy's going to hate him. So he steps out and now puts all of the onus on Kelly, because if Kelly wins, she knows she can't beat Rudy. And if Rudy wins, he's going to take Richard. So Richard's going to the final 3, and he knows he's going there. And that was a brilliant move. I also always go back to the point when they're doing the challenge where they keep pulling away like the planks, and Hatch is singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall or whatever. When Hatch is sitting on the beach after he's eliminated from that challenge, and he's explaining what's going to happen if Kelly doesn't win immunity. And he's just going through, like, Colleen doesn't even realize she's actually safe tonight. She has no idea that we actually want to keep her and get rid of Kelly. Like, everything he's saying, it's so much more forward thinking. And it's easy to say, again, like, and well, I'm not meaning to harp on it, but I feel like it's easy to say what would have happened. But it's also Richard Hatch saying all of this stuff made it so that season 2 is immediately a different show. And season 3 was immediately a different show. If Hatch isn't saying all of these things, nobody else was. And I don't know if they had put anybody on the show who was like that, because we really hadn't seen this type of game be played and see how people would play it. And I do think that there was a lot to what Blake was saying of, if you're the person that's the most deserving to be here, we're going to keep you around. That is how the entire Pagong tribe was thinking. And honestly, it's how the Tagi tribe was thinking, with the exception of Hatch, who pretty much said, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that people that are loyal to me stay, because there's another season of the show where it's, hey, Greg and Gretchen are useful. Let's keep them around. And that could have been what Survivor stayed as. So I rank Hatch at 6. Maybe it's too high. Maybe it's not. I'm happy he made the top 10. I think that it's where he belongs. He belongs in the top 10, because you can say it was super easy, but how long did it take humans to invent the wheel and to figure out fire? I mean, it didn't have to happen in season 1 that people figured this out.
The other thing too is like no matter what you're doing, whether it's a baseball, basketball, football, like there is some stuff of like the first Super Bowl winner was this, and if that sucked or wasn't cool, there's not a 50th Super Bowl. And like there's some maybe you don't know them by heart, but like there are people from the beginning of the competition where it's like, yes, they could never score on LeBron now, but they were just playing who they could play against. And maybe some of them could actually be pretty good role. Like I think Richard Hatch could have won a new era season. Maybe not whenever he was this age. If you drop this age Richard Hatch into a new era season, he probably gets top 5.
Or he gets voted out early like Thomas or something.
Yeah, he goes out in like a didn't really have a control way because
he went on a journey and lost his vote.
He goes out like Justin, where it's like, hey man, you just have to go now. Nice.
Yep, your time. One last thing I'll say on this, because it has come up in so many other winners that we've talked about, is like the viability of their castmates.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that's fair.
Talk about it, Redemption Island. We haven't gotten to One World yet, obviously, but I imagine that'll be a conversation we talk about with Natalie Anderson, San Juan del Sur. Like, if you're using the level of play of your opponents as a factor to grade a win, which again, I did not put into the algorithm because I thought, there were very few instances where that's the case. Season 1 has to be on that list.
Wait, Emily Flip and pushback. I have an Emily Flip and pushback. This is the only season where every single player is truly on the same playing field, though. Every single person walked out there without having any idea what was going on, and Hatch figured it out. So to me, you could say, look, this is the easiest cast to beat, but this is the only season of the show where every single person who stepped on that beach had the exact same amount of knowledge about what the show was going to be.
Right. But the fact that only, and we can say this because I think once one person, you can only be the first to something. There can't be multiple people to create the first alliance. The fact that no one on the other, the Toggy tribe never was like, yo, maybe we should vote together. Like that's an indication to me that the people they cast for this particular show, that they wanted something maybe, I don't know, they wanted something different from their cast members, and that made it much, much easier for Hatch to implement and execute a very simple alliance. And look, I get why Hatch, like this is to me like a legacy pick of like Hatch is the first winner. He deserves to be top 10, and that's fine. And if that's how you want to rank, and I think a lot of people do that, even with season 1 Borneo, you'll often see it top 10 of season rankings simply because it's the first. I have Borneo in probably like the
bottom 10,
bottom 30s, I think.
Yeah.
Just because I think in terms of entertainment value, the show has figured out what it is and has produced way more entertaining seasons than Borneo. You can look back at it as like kind of a time capsule of like, wow, this is fascinating, but like you can't tell me you're more entertained by Borneo than a lot of other seasons. And I think the same thing kind of goes with Hatch. When you look at his win, it's like, what did he have to do to, he put like 4 people together. No one else was playing the game. And I get why he should be top 10 or you have him top 10, but like just looking at like what did I always have said this whole ranking, how much did you do to win your game? How much did you have to overcome and put together and actively play? He put together 4 people and steamrolled the entire game that no one else was really playing. And I get how that can be awesome because it's the first time, but I don't value it as much as others. So.
John and McKenna put Hatch at 10. So it was 6, 7, 10, and 29. We only have maybe 1 or 2 more like controversial, like in terms of like who had a lowest here. By the time we get to the end of this, we'll probably be ripping through just praising the winners. So it's more coming down to placement at that point than anything else. I mean, yeah, now do the next one. Agree. Phil was just typing that. That's St. Clifford. You don't want to do that one. All right. Next. Sandra Diaz Twine, Heroes versus Villains. She comes in here. John and McKenna ranked her 2. Will, again, with the low ranking here at 25. Blake, you had Sandra at 9. I had Sandra all the way down at 16. So I had Sandra right above Sarah, right above Harv.
Let's freaking go, guys.
John and McKenna put Sandra at 2. Yeah. So look, this is a tough one for me. And Will, I think for me, this Sandra win, I can see anything in this range of like 2 to 25. I feel like she has to be in the top half. because she's the first winner to ever win twice. And to win a second season without being on a season full of winners is unbelievably impressive. The thing is, though, it's where does she land in this? Because what do you value? Do you value?
I
the
value
anyone but me
queen
strategy?
staying queen.
No, I get that, Blake. Hang on. Let me finish this point because I think this is where the ranking is really wide for Sandra at 9. And we've had so many people say they think the Pearl Islands game is better. I don't. I think this is the better game. But what do you do? Because how do you take it out of your mind of, okay, she's a 2-time winner, which obviously puts her in the top 5 players ever. But is this heroes versus villains game actually as dominant as to put it at 9? But it is also a win against maybe the best cast ever made. Will was just talking about casts being an issue for Borneo. Maybe the best cast ever made. She sits next to arguably, according to some of you, the greatest player of all time in Parvati and beats her
by 3.
By 3. She navigates her way all to the end, doing the strategy she needs to do. She can't play the Tom Westman game. But at the same time, she also doesn't play the Tom Westman or Kim game of just absolutely dominating from start to finish. So I get why there's a wide range of rankings here. I'm happy to see Sandra's face in our top 10. So, Will, I don't know what you did to put her at 25, but I'd like to hear from you first before Blake starts praising her.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I've said the whole time, I just said it with Hatch. Like, I think like you actively taking control of your own game and making decisions to win. This season, I feel like Sandra is there, and it's nothing against her strategy of anyone but me, and just keeping on. But like, look, if Parv doesn't play the 2 idols at the merge to get the villains the numbers, Sandra's not sticking around. If the whole if they don't get the idol from JT, like that's a big thing where that happens to fall into their lap, and then that's all Parv and Russell executing that. Sandra's not even really part of this core villains alliance. She often says throughout the season her number 1 goal is to eliminate Russell. She never even achieves that. Like, to me, she hangs around, and then Russell is an asshole, so no one votes for him. And then the Parv over. Again, I think Parv's game in Heroes vs. Villains is better than her game in Micronesia. I know she wins Micronesia and doesn't win Heroes vs. Villains, but I think this was like again, fine game. I read 25. It's impressive. It's not like I have this in like the low 40s or anything, but like Sandra, all she kind of did was hang around till the end and get jury votes, which I understand is the goal of the game. But when we are comparing that to 49 other people that also got to the end and got the jury votes, that's where you can say, okay, maybe it's not as impressive. It wasn't as active of a game as some other winners. So yes, I can say wholeheartedly that Sandra's a top 5 player of all time. To win the game twice and to win the game here in this fashion where you stated already, this is a stat cast. It wasn't an all winners cast. There's only 2 other winners on the season, 3 other winners on the season. That like, wow, how did she pull this off? I think we have to also acknowledge, though, that, this is season 20. Sandra first played in season 7. This is 13 seasons later. Sandra was never touted as one of the better winners of Survivor. I think she was kind of a forgotten winner, especially on that season with Rupert and Fairplay, major characters of the franchise eating up a lot of screen time, that Sandra's kind of like a little bit of an afterthought on Pearl Islands, and that she's not coming in, despite being a winner, is not coming in with this huge threat level. And you look at the threats that are out there. I mean, you have Boston Rob, a non-winner who is way more threatening than you. I mean, you have a cast stacked of so many people, and I think we can say, wow, she beat a stacked cast, but how much did that stacked cast actually help her with having so many targets, so many shields in front of her that allowed her to just kind of like sneak on through? Again, she was not even a part of this main villains alliance that dominated the post-merge, and her goal was to get out Russell, who she never even got out. But so I can appreciate the win for sure, but I'm not like saying this is a top 10 win.
The thing with the Russell, though, is she doesn't actually get Russell out of the game, but because she made it so clear to everybody that she didn't like Russell and that she did want Russell out of the game and that she saw through Russell, that's why she gets the votes at the end, because everybody's like, yeah, we should have listened to you, Sandra. We hated her or hated him. And it's kind of the opposite of what happens with Michelle, where Michelle keeps telling everybody, hey, Tony's going to win this. And like, well, we don't respect you and we're not going to vote for you either because you told us it was true and we didn't want to respect you. Who knows? Anyway, I look at Sandra's win as this. As most people listen know, long time ago, I used to run track and cross country. And if you run a track race and you're getting on the line and you're against a bunch of people who are way better than you, the whole goal of that race is get it to something you can beat them at. Like if you're running a 5K, but you have a better, you're a faster 800 runner than the people you're running against, try to turn it into a tactical race early. And then at the last 800, try to outrun them. Don't let them run away from you at the beginning, because a lot of time in races, people will bunch up. They don't try to go for it right off the starting line. They'll bunch up and you try to turn it into a race that you can. And I think that's what Sandra did on this season. Like Sandra knew coming in that if she sticks her head up too high, she's going to get voted out because she is a winner. And then all of a sudden they start saying, wait, maybe Sandra's really good. And she also knows when she has to be willing to shift alliances and when she should stick up for her alliance and when she shouldn't. And she turned it into a race that she could win. And I know somebody had commented earlier, you guys can say what you want about this, but this game sucks. Like it clearly does not suck because she beat Parvati and Russell at the end and got 6 of the 9 votes. And she can't go beat, if they're playing balls to the wall from day one, she's probably not going to beat Boston Rob. And she's not going to beat Parvati, and she's not going to beat these other players. But she knows that Survivor is about timing. It doesn't matter what you do at Final 19 or Final 18 or Final 17. Boston Rob wants to be in control from day one, and that's why Boston Rob, his average placement is significantly worse than most of the other winners who have played multiple times. That's not the case for Sandra because Sandra understands just keep on keeping on. And we just watched Game Changers recently. I mean, you watch Game Changer. I know this isn't about that, but like you see Sandra, even in that one, she knows she can't win. She goes way further than she should. She survives so many tribal councils.
I don't want to spoil the Game Changers, but I was a very big fan of Sandra.
Yeah. And so my whole point is, I think for Sandra on this, I ranked her at 16. So, I'm actually closer to you than I am to John and McKenna. But I think that for people who just dismiss this game and it's like, oh, it's because she wasn't a threat or, oh, she wasn't this, she has to play the game that she can play. She can't play the game that other players can play. And to go out there and beat other, like the greatest cast ever assembled, to me is impressive.
Yeah, but you keep saying that line over and over. You can only play the game that you can play, but like, sure, like Fabio can only play the game Fabio can play, but we have him at 47. Like it doesn't, like we're still ranking the games that are played. And so I'm not taking, again, we've said this from the start, you're not taking away any wins or any credibility from anybody, but like, yeah, this is the way you had to play the way to win. I don't find that as impressive as the way this person won their game.
But and to make the argument, the counter argument before Blake gets to talk, the counter argument to the Fabio thing is I ranked Sandra's first game at 31. So I do find that game is less impressive than this one because the first time she plays, yes, she's playing the game she needs to play to win. But this one, again, I give the extra points for the fact of she's not on an all-winner season and she still manages to get to the end.
And as I already countered that, I think that actually helped her here because the cast is so stacked, lots of shields. Also, I'll say the algorithm had Sandra's Heroes vs. Villains game at 26, and the algorithm does not know that this is her second time winning, and it doesn't know that that's an all-returning player season, just pure metrics.
So really, I've never been more confident that our ranking of Sandra is correct because it's far away from what the algorithm said. So that is good.
Well, I'm just trying to give you insights here.
I got you, Blake. Blake, you're up. You got to be the defender of John and McKenna and all things Sandra. You had her right here at 9 where she came in.
Did I get one perfect again?
Finally, yeah.
Sandra Diaz-Twine. After all of that, it is interesting to see the haters in the comments. It is interesting to see some sidestepping or whatever. Queen stays queen. What does that mean to you? Sandra Diaz-Twine comes in here. She doesn't have what it takes to do well on an all-star season. She has the designation of being one of the former winners. She's not the strongest competitor, except maybe puzzles. And she's on a tribe that is going to... Oh, wait, they beat the heroes a couple times, but now they're in the whole thought process of throwing stuff to get people out again. It almost feels like her Pearl Islands tribe all over again. Is that the blueprint for Sandra to do well? And it's something where Sandra is loudmouth. She is opinionated. She is either on your side or not on your side. And people know that they don't want to play with her, but they don't go vote her out. She still plays it as likable enough. I think this is something where it's like, how could you cheer for the Yankees? How could you cheer for the Dodgers? This is the type of stuff of some of these people that are going to win Survivor are just not who you're going to be rooting for because they have aura that you don't understand or you don't participate in or you don't like. And I think that's why Sandra is so polarizing. Of she is so cool for the people that like I get loud too in my everyday life, and people tell me to shut up, or people tell me to, but bro, get out of here. This is somebody that got loud and got celebrated for it. Okay, but are you playing any strategy stuff? I think the thought process is anyone but me. And that is so unbelievably hard to do, because we say anyone but me. That's like the easiest strategy to do. Well, there's not 15 people that won with this strategy. It's Sandra twice and maybe a smattering of 3 or 4 other people. That would
Amber,
say
Natalie
this is
White, Erica, Danny.
Natalie White and Amber did not have the strategy of anybody but me. They were just
anyone
there,
but
buddy.
me seems super easy and boring because Sandra does it so well. And I think there's some pivotal relationships she makes with the hero side of, if there's anybody that's going to be flipping to you guys, it's me. So you don't vote me out. If there's anybody that's going to help you guys get to the end, it's me. Hey, Rupert, remember everything we've been through? If there's anybody that's going to, and then that pays dividends whenever we flip the game and we have the jury vote. And it's something where it's like, is
Yeah,
it 40?
is. It's 38
it's-
spots better, I think.
It's something where Sandra is so cool as a cucumber and so confident that that's bumping her up in my rankings. It's a swagger that is hard to replicate, and it's a swagger that is only for like 14% of the people that watch the show, but it's the loudest 14% on the internet. And it's like, oh, the Facebook people are going to be mad or whatever. Like, I don't think they were happy when Sandra won both times. But it's like, this is what I want to see on every season, of somebody going like, yes, I'm against you. Yes, I'm against you, Russell. Because when Russell had that vaguely happened in 19 to him, he eliminated them immediately afterwards. He can't get rid of Sandra. Or he could, but he didn't, because he underestimates her. She burns the hat. Yes, these are all like character moments, but I think this is something where she's managing her threat level indirectly that we can't even fathom. And the editors are telling us as best as they can, like, this is where she's operating and being in, because it's a fully social game. It's not strategic. It's not physical. She's solely getting by on social game. And I think she is the best person in the history of the show to do solely based on social game. That's why she'll be on Mount Rushmore forever. Cirie is strategic. Sandra is not. Sandra is the pound for pound best social player in the history of the game. And I think we get lost in that because it's fun to say this stuff. But yes, it's your favorite show, but maybe 80% of y'all don't understand how hard it is to play this socially. And this is the best person at doing it. And I fully believe that for the rest of my life. That's why I have her in the top 10.
I'm going to throw up this comment from Ryan Chan before we move on. The villain's not booting Sandra as opposed to Courtney was such a big fumble from Russell and Parv. And I agree with that. And Ryan Chan's been defending Sandra, so I'm not taking this out of context. But I do think, like Turgenstein says, if they get rid of Sandra instead of Courtney, does Courtney win? Like, no, Courtney, I don't think does win. And I think that this also comes back to Sandra's so good socially, but she also keeps everything close to the chest. Right? People don't really know where Sandra's always going to be. And Russell and Parv, they kind of took it for granted that Sandra would just be easy to kind of manipulate and do whatever and beat at the end. Courtney, they knew, had Amanda on the other side. They were concerned, with potential other alliances. I think at this time, I don't think she was dating Steven yet, but like, I think she knew some of the Tocantins cast. So maybe they were concerned about that. Like, there's a lot that people were concerned about with Courtney that they weren't worried about with Sandra. And so Sandra ultimately is like, okay, I'm just going to kind of keep letting them think that I'm easy to beat. And that's going to be my strategy. Look, is it the most exciting game? No, but I do think like what Blake just said, I think it is she is the best social player. Again, I ranked it at 16. So I'm closer to Will than I am to John and McKenna, but I just think that it is a great social game, and that can be
a great social game
to justify and say what actually is good about this. Is this better than a strategic game or a physical game? Because at the end of the day, we don't get to hear every single conversation people are having to make them likable or not. So,
I mean, and if you're doing it like a X-Men comic book card where it's like, what's your intelligence? What's your power level? Like Sandra's social is 10, her physical is like a 2, and her strategic is probably like a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So those other metrics that people enjoy and are easier to show, that's why I think this is controversial. But this is literally Professor X level of she reads people's minds and does whatever the hell she wants with them.
Yeah. All right. So that this isn't a 5-hour podcast. Let's move on to number 8. Who you guys got?
Chris. Not Earl. Anybody but Earl? Please, not Earl.
Chris. Yeah, Chris.
Not Earl.
Jeremy Collins. All right. So second chance,
Let's
obviously the
fucking
10-0-0
Jeremy.
vote. Some people could consider this a perfect game because he negated his votes. I don't think that qualifies. But Blake with the highest ranking at 6. So nobody had Jeremy in their top 5, which I was a little surprised at. I have the lowest ranking here on Jeremy at 21. And I think this might be because second chance is so fresh in my mind. And Jeremy had like an opposite effect of impressiveness for me rewatching this second chance season. So Blake at 6. Will, where did you come in on Jeremy?
You tell me.
Okay, you don't have that in front of you. Okay, you came in.
The algorithm had Jeremy at 7.
Okay, John and McKenna had him at 15.
Oh, wait, no,
Will,
I
you
had
him
Jeremy at
7.
7. I had
Yeah, you
Jeremy
had him
at
at
7. I had Jeremy at 7. I think the algorithm probably, I had Jeremy at 4. I mean, his metrics are off the charts here. It's not surprising. Yeah, I mean, I think with Jeremy, this is he was always going to be top 10, but never top 5, just because like there are so few flaws in his game. Like he kind of steamrolls this. He's again, if you wanted to talk about like cast quality, there are some maybe more character-based casting decisions here on second chance than we'd like to admit, but overall, it's a very game-oriented strategic cast. That's what production was going for. So like very tough cast to win against, and he wins 10-0-0 and really doesn't feel like he's ever really challenged. Like obviously he has to play the idol, but he's navigating and we're not really in the heavy twist, but we do have a lot of like advantages and idols to navigate through. And I think you can just say it's a very solid game. Like lowest here at 21, I think that says it all. Like I'm even surprised you don't have him in your top 20 in terms of just like straight up quality of wins of like, I don't really know what you can knock Jeremy here. I think he's a triple threat. Like he's good enough in challenges. He's great socially, obviously good strategically. He knows when to play idols. He plays an idol for Steven, which then helps him out later. Like he really kind of is a all around player, and usually all around players, they'll never be like the top tip top of like, no one's going to tell you Jeremy's the number 1 winner of all time. But I think it's very hard to put Jeremy outside your 15, and I'm actually kind of surprised you have him outside the top 20 here because he's just a very solid, reliable all-around player.
I mean, here's my thing. So the people that I have in front of Jeremy, and Blake, just don't pay attention to this because your opinion on this one, honestly. I go D, Cochran, Parv, Sarah, Sandra, Denise, Boston Rob, Tina. Like, I feel like my gap, I have Kyle right after Jeremy, and then I think there's a pretty major gap between Kyle and Tyson for me, between 22 and 23. It's kind of like how I've been talking about with this ranking that we've been doing. There's been major gaps between certain areas where it might feel like, wait, how is Savannah 37? It's like, well, Savannah was closer to being 31 than she was to being 38 based on how the ranking went. You know what I mean? And so I feel like with Jeremy's game here, what gets me is he goes through and Will, this is me kind of adopting your Wilgorithm a little bit. Early on, he doesn't go to like any tribal councils, but he's also not the reason that his tribe is dominating challenges. So something that I do give Tom Westman a little bit more credit for, because to me, he's the reason why they're dominating. Jeremy's not the reason that his tribe is dominating. So he gets the right numbers very early on at the merge. And yes, he's able to steamroll. And yes, he has the meat shield strategy of having Joe and having Steven and having Savage always as threads. When his back gets against the wall at the very end, he makes such a terrible read of Kimmy. He has no idea that it is coming. And if it wasn't for Spencer and Tasha getting the information, Jeremy's going home at 6. Now, good I always say
game. Good social game.
Well, okay,
right.
I'm literally going to make that point. I always say it's good if people are willing to tell you the information. But Kimmy's plan was going to 100% dupe Jeremy. And Jeremy sits there with Spencer and Tasha at the end and gets all the votes. to me, it is like a red flag of like, okay, if Jeremy didn't have the numbers that he had in the early merge, which he had all of them. I mean, it's a 9 votes that Kelly Wentworth is able to get rid of because of her idol. If Jeremy doesn't have that early in the merge, where does Jeremy's game go? So I rank him just outside of my top 20. I put him at 21. I mean, could it on a different day, could I rank him higher than Clarity and all them? Maybe, but
yeah, but you can if and but everybody's game. I think
literally just have for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah.
According to you, there were 75 other hatches in the casting process that just didn't make it onto the cache, so.
This is just fun to do, guys. I'm smiling.
I'm having fun. I just have to give, Jeremy is my lowest ranked here.
21 feels just very low for Jeremy.
I mean, we're about to get to one of your ridiculously
we talk about so many things of like, as we rank these winners, what we're like really appreciating, and like quality of cast has come up multiple times, and then like dominance. And I don't know. I feel like to me, this is like such an all around strong game in every facet. And even like his one fumble with Kimmy feels like it could be looked as a positive, having a solid alliance that, and look, those people that told him that, those are the two people he sits next to and beats 10-0-0. Like they like lost their own game to save Jeremy. That's how good his social game was.
I also feel like though, Jeremy's box score is better than if you actually watch the tape. That's my opinion on that.
Sure,
I think Jeremy's got a great box score.
I can buy that because the box score has him at number 4. And
yeah,
I had him at, I think in my I think I did. I don't know. Where did I have him? It ended up 7. Where did I have him in my personal? Yeah, I mean, I had him at 16 in my personal ranking.
So you had him outside the top 15 after you just gave me a hard time and said, I don't know how you don't put him in the top 15.
I maybe talked outside of top 20.
We're having a lot of Jeremy haters talk during his moment in the sun again, but
I think my reasons why. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, no,
I think Jeremy is fucking cool, and it's something where on
cool.
San Juan del Sur, whenever he does his stuff, and you can see how much he cares about the game. You can see how much he like, oh, this is a badass. Maybe he got some bad cards dealt, and it's like, all right, these people are going to go after him. What the heck? Get this.
Clip was saying it's a top tier series.
You're blocking me out.
Blabbing.
You're a hater. You're a hater for Jeremy. The Jeremy thought process for San Juan del Sur is, damn, I wish he could play again, because it seems like he got early, and I think he has what it takes to do well in Survivor. And I don't think there's another person in the history of the game that came back and proved it as hard as Jeremy. And whenever we do the whole, like, it's my second chance, I need to learn from my first game. What did I do wrong? Because this is the second time I'm going to play Survivor. Some of these people are not going to play a third time. Jeremy's whole thing of that, obviously it's the one that actually pays off, so it feels genius. But it is something of, I need to have strong people around me, so I'm not the person who's going home at 10, 9, 8. He has a relationship with Steven. Steven was super aligned with JT. I could be that for him. He needs that. But then he lets Steven go off into the mist. Whenever it's time for Steven to go, he's not going to go, no, I'm going to put my neck out for him. He's learning about this stuff. And I think it's so cool to have that moment of like, I'm reinvigorated because I know about my unborn child, and like sharing that moment. I don't know why it's so poignant and so cool. Obviously we're ranking some strategy, we're ranking some stuff. To have two other people, it feels very Tyson-like of, hey, these are Jervis and God dang it, Monica. Jervis and Monica are never going to betray me. It doesn't make sense for me to talk to everybody. It literally shows up. Tasha and Spencer are never going to betray me after a certain point. This is amazing. And I think it's something where Jeremy knows his threat level the whole time and is doing it like, let's do this specifically. And it's trust cluster time in this season. And he's making sure he's fluid enough where nobody sees him as, we have to get rid of that. And I do think there's some kind of benefit of, he started on Hunapu with Kelly Wentworth. He started on Hunapu with Keith. These are people I know from my original season. They're in the final 5 with me, and that's the final 5. That's insane. Like I think that is Jeremy's influence of like, I'm going to take people that have an emotional connection to them because we've been on Survivor every single day of those people's life. Well, they were on, well, okay. For Kelly, yes. Every single day we were on this tribe together, and that final 5 is people that care about him or people that have an emotional connection to him because of the first season, and that the whole person in the middle is Jeremy. I think the final 5 round where it's I'm looking at Keith and he's not looking, that is one of the most like I think subtle gameplays where we edited it all together to show that type of stuff because he could have gone at 5, and it's pretty cool to see all that. And I think Jeremy was super impressive. It's a cast. I think a lot of these all-star seasons where it's all 20 all-stars are in our top 10 besides like Amber. So we are kind of valuing that of like
Sarah Lucina.
Okay, well, I forgot one. But it's something where it's like his cast is people that are motivated to win, but he's playing masterfully to beat all of them. And good for you, Jeremy. You're in our top 10.
Yeah, Blake, you gave me more ammo for why I ranked him at 21. I forgot. Yeah, he's on a season with 2 people from his original starting tribe. Are you kidding me? That's absurd.
That's cool. I like that.
I look, again, Jeremy, it's funny. Will was giving me such a hard time that he goes and ranks him in his own personal ranking at 16, which is way different than the algorithm and all of that. I think that Jeremy's game is very good. Like, I really do. There are things that I respect and appreciate more from winners than what Jeremy does in the second chance game, which is ultimately 21. But like Will said, with Sandra putting her at 25, it's like, we're still talking top half. I'm talking almost the top 2/5 of Survivor winners. You get into like the top portion of this, you're talking the best of the best. Jeremy coming in at 8. I'm happy with Jeremy coming in at 8. I just think it's a little bit overrated of performance. But if you were to ask me, would I take Jeremy in a regular season, like over any of the 7 people in front of him? I might take Jeremy over most of them as like he probably has the highest upside because he just gets it. But we're talking about one game. And that's why
I'm curious, like Jeremy's game versus Sarah Lucina's game. Because to me, the quality of play and the cast is a huge factor in like how I would subjectively rank those 2 winners.
For me, I ranked Sarah like 2 or 3 spots higher, mainly because I just felt like the way Sarah manipulates the final 10 on is just I think it's final 11 on. The way she flips back and forth is incredible. But
is this a perfect game or we don't count it?
No, I don't think so, because he did technically get votes.
Right. But even that, we have to like talk about that and distinguish is it a perfect game or not? Like that's the level that it's in. That's the tier we're talking.
Speaking of perfect games, you guys ready to move on to number 7?
JT?
No, it's an actual perfect game. It's Chris Doherty.
Oh my god.
There he is. Vanuatu.
Look at Blake and Will knowing that if we put him below 15, Phil will kill us. So we gave him
I feel like 15 is higher than like most Survivor fans.
100%, because most people don't understand how Survivor works. That's why we're here to educate.
We want to be Phil's friend after this.
No, we're here to educate people on why Chris Doherty's game is one of the all-times. Blake was scared
great ranking, Will. Great ranking, Will.
Blake almost put Chris Doherty lower because he wanted to get on Jeff's good side, and then he babied out, and he thought, okay, Phil, I guess is a little bit more important to me. Look, I have him at 2. I'm fine with him being 7. Honestly, if Chris Doherty would have came in at 15, I get it. I feel like most rankings, they just are like, I haven't watched Vanuatu in a while. Let's throw Chris Doherty in like the low 20s or low 30s. And it's like, guys, you're just not watching Survivor at that point. You know those 3 votes you see there, Blake, that he got against him? Will you see that as well? You see that? Votes against episode, 3? Right? All of them were in the first episode. Jeez. Every one of them was in the first episode. This man is against the numbers so much of the season, gets them all there. Ryan Chan with a huge super chat here. Oh, wow. Vanuatu had so many scrappers. Chris, Twyla, Eliza were all early targets. Julie was in the minority. I would not believe you said the 4 of them and Rory made the merge after the 3rd episode. Chris Doherty, to me, it's the greatest single season story arc in the history of the show. It is my favorite by far. He can't get across the balance beam. He should be the first person voted out. There are no idols. There are no crazy advantages. I think the only twist on this season in reality is I think there's the JP John Kenny thing where John Kenny gets to go to the women's tribal council and like give up
men
a necklace.
Versus women.
Which, yeah, okay, that. And then there's also one tribe swap where Sarge picks the tribes. The thing is, though, there's nothing crazy, and this man should have been the first person voted out, overcomes it because of social and strategic gameplay. And then at Final 7, he's the last man standing. And everybody who says, well, any man who got there would have been able to do that. Absolutely not. There is no shot in hell Rory, Sarge, or Chad pull off what Chris pulls off in this
more
season.
women on the jury, too. They could have stuck gender-wise and voted for Twyla.
And so Chris ends up down 6-1, does not win immunity at Final 7, and still works his way back into it. At Final 5, he makes the move ultimately against Julie to get to the end with people that he can beat. And, maybe the jury was a little too hard on Twyla. Chris Doherty gives the best tribal council performance, maybe with the exception of Todd, in the history of the show. It's a pure Survivor game, and that's why I rank it at 2. Like, Will, I know we talked about this a lot, especially during 50 and with these newer seasons. There's so much random luck that goes into this show. And Vanuatu, for as, the little bit of twists that were in there, it feels like there's so much less luck involved in Chris getting this win than other ones. And because he's always got his back against the wall, he doesn't get saved by a medevac or by somebody who gets a random advantage that just happens to work at the perfect time for him. It's just pure Survivor. That's why I rank him at 2. And I think if Vanuatu was a more popular season, or if Chris had played again, I think he would probably take the Yule spot in most people's minds. I think people rank Yule way too high. And I think that Chris would have that spot if people actually watched Vanuatu. So that's my pitch about him. You both have him at 15. I'm very happy. Blake's right. You guys are still my friends now. I do like this, which Will, maybe you're frustrated by that and you wish you would have ranked him lower now. But at 15, I feel like it's a very fair ranking.
I want to say, imagine aligning with Eliza and Twyla and like those women. Like, what are we doing? Like, that is so hard to like. I'm not saying they're crazy. I'm saying, like, I can't imagine, like, let me get all y'all's drink orders or whatever at a restaurant. Like, that seems like that table would be like, oh, hell. And he was around these people for a long time. Like, Eliza is literally cockroaching her way through, ready to turn on anybody. It is crazy that he built such a great relationship with Twyla. And, like, Scout is a strategy that I haven't seen in a while of, like, okay, let me keep her happy and keep her as, like, a number I can just beat at the end. Of, like, Scout is somebody where, like, she's not going to go crazy on us. And I guess maybe that's somewhat in the new era of, like, an older woman that we can be copacetic with, be happy with, keep them happy. And now I can just beat them in the immunity challenge. Because he closes out from Final 4 on, or he just gets the Final 3 one?
He wins 3 and 4. I don't remember if he wins 5. Cool. He might win 5 too, but he doesn't need them. I know he wins them, but he literally doesn't need them.
I think Twyla wins 5 or something. But it's something where I think the mythos of I was almost gone first is so fun when it's a winner. Whenever I was almost gone first and then I got 4th and I got Fallen Angel, or I was almost gone first and then I lost in the final tribal, it's so much cooler when there is something like this. Like, Nick was one of them. Chris is another of, like, I should have gone home. Everything that Survivor gods or Survivor logic has me being the first person out of Vanuatu. And instead of, usually those people roll over and die whenever they get through the first one. They go, this is too hard, or I'm tired of fighting. And it's something where, why is Chris different? And there's a bunch of guys that aren't that fun to be around on Vanuatu either. And he's maneuvering through them or whatever. Like, I think there's something to be said about that cast of, like, is it gamers? Is it whatever? It's full of pain in the ass personalities and landmines that you could step on at any moment. So, like, when Chris maneuvers to the end, it is literally around landmines and pain in the asses, where I think that bumps him up on the social stuff a bit. And it is something where I don't think his strategic is perfect, because it is like, I need to vote out more women than men at certain points. But it is something like, I have to say the right things strategically for the next 2 weeks or I go home, is like a tightrope that not many Survivor winners have done. That's why he's probably this high.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with most of what you're saying. I mean, obviously, I have him ranked there at number 2, and when you look at it, somebody had said, at what point does he beat everybody left in the game? I think it's literally after Amy goes, and then you were asking about the immunities. He wins it at 4 and 3. Eliza wins it at 5. So at the 2 points where you would think, oh, Chris could be in trouble, right? 7 when he's outnumbered 6-1, he doesn't win immunity, is able to get on the right side of the numbers. At 5, the next point where things really could have went south for him, he doesn't win immunity, and because now he's with the alliance essentially that is willing to, Eliza, Twyla, Julie, and Scout. They would have been willing to vote out Chris, and they're not, and they don't get together and do it. So go ahead, Will. What do you got about Chris?
Yeah, I mean, for a winner who early on his own tribe is like, this dude's not it. Like, this dude's not fitting in. For that player then to make the merge and then get to the merge and then be down in numbers through most of the post merge and then win 3 of the 4 final immunity challenges and get to the end and win. Like, Fabio is an amazing winner. I mean, he just really is oh wait, who are we talking about?
Yeah.
This
exactly.
is
Are there any
Fabio
quits
game
on this season? Because I might have mentioned that right off the bat. There was nothing lucky that helped him get further through the game.
So Fabio had to endure a season with way harsher weather, and the weather was so harsh people had to quit. So that's what Fabio had to endure. I mean, the fact that we have Chris and Fabio 40 spots different when their games are nearly identical is kind of insane.
Who got medevac for Chris though?
The medevacs,
shooter.
The medevacs are part of survive. I mean, that's just part of the game. It's just
Where'd you rank Fabio, Will, before you waste everybody's time with this?
I think the algorithm was harsher on Fabio.
Okay, where did you rank Fabio? That's all I want to know, because you ranked Chris at 15. So I know that this is a
Fabio
troll,
at 14.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
They both won with 5.
That was a very funny joke for everybody in the chat. You guys are not laughing hard enough at home. That was amazing.
No, Chris is great. And I think Chris clearly did more to, especially pre-merge. Like, his back against was the wall. He puts together the old man alliance and just rips the younger athletic dudes, which is hilarious. And the show, I think, because I think a big premise of Vanuatu coming off Amazon is like, okay, this like horny male female energy dating show. It's giving dating show aura for the 2026 listeners. That was part of the creative and goal for Vanuatu. And so when Chris comes in and just says, we're just going to keep the fat old dudes with beer bellies and dad bods and just eliminate the good looking athletic guys. Hilarious. And then I mean he scrapped, he clawed, very good socially. He really kind of infiltrated the women there post merge, and then he won immunities when he needed to. I think 3 of the 4 last immunities, I think that would be a huge hit on so many winners other than Chris for Phil. Like to have Chris at 2, I feel like is kind of way too high, given that he needed to win 3 out of 4.
He didn't need to win them. That's what I said. He didn't need to win them.
Well,
the only one he needed to win was Final 3. He didn't need to win any of the others.
We don't know. We don't know.
No, we do. He doesn't need any of the others. Twyla and Scout are voting out Eliza at 4, and at 6, Amy's going home no matter what. And if Amy doesn't win that, Julie's going home. Chris only needs to win.
No, didn't have. We don't know.
We literally know this.
Well, we don't know if Fabio needed to win the last 3.
Yeah, with that, we do know.
We don't know.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm just saying, you can say that Chris did not need, and this is the same reason why I ranked Tom so high. Tom did not need to win the immunities that he won. Chris didn't need them. He just won them. Didn't need them.
All right. Now we know.
I'm just saying, like that Will saying that is like what the online thing, again, going to box score watching, like we were talking about with Jeremy. If you look at the box score, you say, oh, Chris was helped by winning 3 of the final 4 immunities. Yes, it helped, but he did not need them. If Chris doesn't win them, the boot order is the exact same.
Yeah,
with the exception of 3.
I mean, I like Chris. Obviously, he obviously did more to win than Fabio did. I just like to troll you sometimes.
Where did the algorithm come in on Chris? He had to be number 1, right?
Let's see.
Number 2 behind Fabio.
The algorithm. Where is it?
John and McKenna ranked him at 9 for anybody wondering at home. So we had
Nice.
15, 15, 9, and 2.
I don't see. Oh, the algorithm had him at 10.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. So that is a good algorithm. Good job.
Dude.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of algorithms.
The algorithm knows what it's doing.
So we're into our top 6 now.
Mm.
The gap is massive.
Okay,
between
one
Chris and
actual
Six.
thing. Tony has to be gone here, so there's not 2 Tonys in the top 5.
Why can't there be
Because
2 Tonys in the
2
top?
Tonys in the top 5, we're getting massive.
Blake, never, ever, ever, ever underestimate the power of the Wilgorithm. Todd Herzog coming in at 6. Blake and I both rank him at 1.
Oh my god.
Will ranks Todd at
I love Todd.
20. And this is where when I was getting a bunch of crap for Jeremy at 21, it's like, bro, I mean, I'll take the crap for Jeremy at 21. There is a huge gap between Chris and Todd. Had Will ranked Todd in the top 10, I'm going to give this stat. Had Will ranked Todd
I did
in the
not
top 10, just
fucking
a 10,
think this was going to happen.
Todd is number 3 in our ranking. So even if Will goes 10, there's no way that Todd wasn't going to be 1. Todd wasn't going to be 2, but he would have been top 3.
I really am a
Let's
huge
get
fan
Will.
of Todd.
Let's get Will to say all his shit first, and then you go second, Phil, and I'll go at the end.
Yeah, I think I really like Todd. So the algorithm had Todd at 34. So actually, my personal rankings brought Todd way up to 20. That's 14 spots higher. So I think I did have Todd in my top 10 personally. But why we can investigate this. I think he plays a risky game, which is rewarded. But I mean, there's a chance he loses to Amanda. You know, and you could say, okay, he beats Amanda. Great. He beats a good player. But a lot of the top winners play in a way that they get to final 3 and it's over. They've completely dominated the game. They've orchestrated a path that is ensuring victory. Whereas Todd has his doors wide open. I mean, Courtney and Amanda both could have potentially won. And that's why we often say it could be the best final 3 of all time. But is that now, can we look back and say, okay, well, that might be a flaw of the winning game that you didn't have a goat there with you or 2 goats with you to ensure the win?
No, because if you can beat anybody, who cares who you sit next to? Like, I'd rather go and win a 10-round heavyweight fight against the best boxer in the world to prove I'm great than go beat some guy in the first round and be like, oh, I guess I get to keep my number 1 ranking. Like, you got the SEC mindset. That's the problem.
Survivor's not boxing, though. Like, I think, and when the jury
anybody.
Yeah. No, I had Todd in my top 10. So the algorithm here was just not
crazy.
Was not a fan of Todd's
The algorithm dropping Todd out of the top 5 when Blake and I both put him at 1 is absolutely insane. Yeah. Where did John and McKenna? John and McKenna had Todd at 8. So we were really close to Todd being 3. Todd was not going to be 1 or 2, like I said, but Todd easily could have been higher than he was here.
Well, you guys both have him as the best winner of all time.
Of all time. He wins.
That's why we're getting you out of the way, bud.
Yeah, he comes out.
All right. I'll let you guys cook. I mean, I think Todd is like a top 10 winner. I don't know about number 1.
You clearly don't. You ranked him at 20.
Well, we have to take in some
because of nothing. Oh, because he only got 4 votes against Courtney and Amanda. He's a worse winner because he was able to beat 2 of the best losing finalists in the history of the show. He's bad. Yeah, that makes sense. Todd comes out and just strategically dominates the game. He's on a tribe with James and Jean Robert, these 2 bigger guys. He knows what people he knows what makes every single person on this cast tick. And that's why I rank him at number 1. He knows what everybody wants to hear when they want to hear it. He knows what people value. He knows how he can get on James's good side. He knows how he can get on Denise's good side. He knows how to get on Courtney's good side. He knows how to get on Amanda's good side. If you ever meet Todd, which I had the privilege of doing at the 50 finale, Todd is a very short, normal looking dude. And he's on a cast that has a lot of big, strong people and a lot of really young, hot people as well. Todd was just this normal guy who comes out and plays the game and dominates it because he knew what he was good at. And to create an alliance of Courtney and Amanda and be able to run the game with Courtney and Amanda, of all people, We had never seen anything like that in the history of the show. The way he handles James is great. The way he has to handle Courtney's personality when Courtney wants to get rid of Jean Robert because Jean Robert is disgusting, and Todd's trying to figure out how can I continue to keep my numbers. This isn't better for my game, but where do I have to give? Where do I have to take? He just knew how to do all of that. And the way he handles the two idols in play on this season, it's incredible. He never gets one back, but the way they try to throw the challenge and all this is all Todd's brainchild. He absolutely dominates the game from a strategic standpoint from start to finish. And that to me is why I rank him at number 1. And his final trial performance, Daryl Seymour says it, Todd got Jean Robert to be quiet and sit down. It's amazing. He came into that final tribal and knew every single thing that he had to say. And when Jean Robert tries to come at him, he answers. And when he sits and James says he shut him up. That's what people wanted to hear. And that's what people wanted. And so Todd, it's also the fact that when James goes home, he knows that he could have been in trouble if James plays one of those idols, that he probably goes home in that moment. But he also realized that was the risk he had to take if he wanted to win the game. And I think in the final 6, there's no doubt he beats every single person left in the game if he sits next to them in final 3. He probably loses to James, although I don't know if James would have pitched his case right at the end. But he beats everybody in that final 6. And I think he did a great job of setting it up, and he was in everybody's plans.
Everybody at final 6?
Yes.
Oh, I gave him 10 points actually for that.
Yeah.
I'm confirming. I was like, oops, did I mess up my manual? Because this is manual data entry here. But I did give him the full 10 points. So why is the algorithm so low? I guess it's
got to be because he didn't go to many tribals early on.
He didn't go to that many tribals. It's a 16-person cast, which isn't really, it's not directly in the algorithm, but that reduces the amount of tribals there are total if you have fewer people on your cast. And then not, scoring a lot of the jury votes, or only getting 4 out of 7 jury votes. Challenge wise, not a lot there
for a final 3 ever, right?
Smallest jury for a final. So maybe maybe this is like an outlier. The algorithm's been so strong and true for so much of this series, and so maybe here China is kind of a unique season with this weird jury count. This is also a smaller cast than we've kind of seen in this era of Survivor. And so maybe that's working against him here a little bit, but I think he ends up at 6. That's kind of perfect.
Nah, he should be top 5. He doesn't have to be 1, but he should be top 5.
Okay.
The 2 Tonys, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the 2 Tonys, we kind of we went back and forth on the Tonys, and I think that's what ended up making it so that it was Todd at 6, and then both Tonys make the top 5, because I don't think any of us had a strong enough opinion on why one Tony was better than the other, and I think that impacted the rankings.
Okay, Todd, time for me.
That's crazy. Tony's gonna have 2 top 5.
Todd is cool. Todd is it's something I'm pretty sure you know this, but it's perfect voting record. So did Amanda, but not Courtney or whatever, but a perfect voting record.
Jean Robert.
Yeah, he goes to tribal 2 times in the first 18 days because he's on I kind of see him. I know. Here's what I'm trying to say. He's the leader of Fei Long. And I don't think many people would say Todd is our leader of Fei Long. But Todd is, I think Todd plays from the top from day 1 to day 39. I could never do that in the history of my life. I would not walk in there and be on the top 3 days in. I would not be playing from the top on day 36. I'd probably be scraping by for my life and having one immunities. Todd is the central character to everyone's story, to everybody's thought process. He is, from the beginning to the end, the most important person. And that was so unbelievably impressive to me at this point in time, because Survivor China, enough people have seen how to win, enough people have seen how to play, enough people, Jean Robert is coming in with a game plan. There's some people, yes, maybe James hasn't seen how to work with idols, and that's a backfire, but I think it's something where Todd is recognizing this. I think Todd showing the idol, go grab the one from the other side, is one of the most unique ways a winner has gotten ahead. Let me eliminate the idol from my opposition. I won't have to dodge a bullet like Jeremy does Jeremy dodges the bullet because it hits Savage, not him. Todd eliminates the ability for his opponents to have a bullet to shoot. Very cool. These are indirect things that I think add to his legacy, add to his dominance on that season. And it is something where, are you mad at me? You're probably going to be more mad at Courtney because she's a little snarkier than I am. You're probably going to be a little more mad at Amanda because she's going to go, oh, that's just how the game works. And that's when we get to that final tribal. It is so dynamic because Amanda has been in lockstep with Todd and making decisions with him. And I think that is something that is super smart to understand of, I have a pair with Amanda and we are both working together and we're both good. Do I need to get her out before the end? Or I think having the confidence to beat your ally partner at a final tribal is very cool, because the strategy these days is like, get him out. Another person who did this is Kyle. Kyle's a top 3 new era winner. I don't have to get rid of my partners out. Well, maybe Camilla.
He has to get rid of Camilla.
I don't have to get. I don't have to get rid of Joe, like everybody thought I had to get rid of Joe. I can outwork him at Final Tribal. Todd is not the originator of this, but I think is the best example of this. Of, I don't have to get out Amanda because of this. Why is he the number 1 winner? Some of this is coming into play where it's what year was this? What would happen to you culturally? I think seeing Todd's win is the one that has most personally positively affected my life, of how cool it was when it was happening, watching live. And I think that's something where, what are we doing when we're ranking winners? I thought we were sticking to a certain thing. I think there is a part of me where it's like, Todd is always going to be the coolest because, hey, I don't really know that I'm gay back then, but I realized like, why is this different than all the other winners? This is so cool. We weren't expecting him to do well when this first started, and he has been paying off so much hard work, so much whatever. Why am I rooting for him so hard? Courtney is also super cool. Amanda's super hot, but you're like, this is so cool in a different way. Why is this so cool? Whenever he's like jumping up and down, he has some very emotional moments throughout the season as well. Whenever his sister does almost like a Johnny Fairplay thing where you're like, that was a crazy scenario, but like, I was so emotionally invested in Todd, and to see him win instead of fall short, to see him jump up and down and have that moment with his family was so freaking cool that I think that does break some ties. And I'm about to say that about another person in the top 5, and it may be a little bit more different, but Todd is that for me. And I think this is why are you still watching 20 years later when you haven't really enjoyed some more recent seasons? And I think these are the moments where I want this from Survivor 47. I want this from Survivor 49, 52, 53. Give me a reason to care about these people. Give me a reason for me to triumph with them and be so excited when they do this stuff. And maybe it's no longer possible for me to do this because I've watched so many seasons, but I want this moment for people of the new Survivor fans to have moments like this. Because yes, you can go back and watch this stuff, but I don't think you can get the cultural thought process of like, this is a gay man from Utah being celebrated and being like, you're the coolest person in the world for one night. And it was super cool to see. And I think that's something where that can't be ignored or not said from me because of how important and how cool this was.
There you go. That's Todd. Coming in at number 6, number 1 for Phil and Blake, number 20 for Will, number 8 or 9 for John and McKenna. I put my phone down, so I don't know it now. Yeah, and Todd's final tribal performance is the best. He goes for the kill, which Amanda doesn't, and that's why he gets the win, and that's why Courtney actually ends up with more votes there. But yeah, to me, it's like the ultimate super fan game. This is if Sesternino won, and that's why I rank it at 1. And I think that, you know, China's also my favorite season, so it's satisfying. And Vanuatu's another season I rank really high, which is why I have these winners high. We're into the top 5 now. Top 5. Who you guys got at 5?
Top 5, baby.
Top 5, baby.
Kagiang Tony.
Will?
Have we done Cochran yet?
Fuck off. And we're back, baby.
Remember when Blake was giving a heartfelt speech like 3 seconds ago?
What about Earl?
It's Kagiang Tony.
Let's go.
So I had him at 3. Blake had him at 10. Look, I always say I like this game more than I like the winners at War 1. I think that this one is just, it's so out of control. And I always respect the first time somebody plays more than the second time somebody plays. John and McKenna ended up with Tony Cagion at 6. And Will, you ended up with Tony Cagion at 6 as well. So for me, Tony, the reason why I rank this one higher is just people do not understand. When this cast was announced, this guy was an idiot. And I mean this like so passionately. Everybody thought Tony was done from the start when he stepped on this island. He was Russell Hantz thinking he's Russell Hantz, but has no game. The way his preseason interviews were, everything, you're like, who is this man? It makes absolutely no sense. And then he comes out and he just plays one of the most insanely aggressive winning games you'll ever see. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, he definitely pisses off people, whatever. But Tony is always on the move, always thinking. And some of the moves that he's able to pull off, I mean, you think about when Sarah goes home and him and LJ both burn idols, and yet he's still able to come out at final 10 and figure it out and make it work. The way that he will get, I think it was LJ, where he gets LJ to say, hey, we should vote this person out. And Tony's like, great, that's all I needed to hear. When Tony literally makes him say the words. Like, I think it's totally taken out of context for LJ. He was just always thinking and always using it as an excuse. He somehow convinces Wu to take him the final 2. He ends up winning 8-1 in the final 2. But what gets me for Tony, and the reason why I end up putting him at 3, just behind Todd and just behind Chris, is because we have never seen this much of an aggressive gameplay ever win the show. Like, this is as aggressive as it gets. And for all the mistakes to come out and be as authentically Tony as Tony is and still win, insane to me. So I put him at 3.
This is the most entertaining win in the history of the show. And I think that is something that anytime you're watching Kagiyan, why are we showing it to brand new people? Because it's the coolest shit ever. But he's got an unbeatable idol. So I'm dumping him a couple spots because of that.
Yeah, but he lies about that so perfectly.
That's true, what I like. The biggest
true.
knock on his game is the super idol, but he doesn't even use the power of the super idol. So it's like, how are you knocking him for that? Well, obviously it exists.
And Wu takes him. But the other knock.
Well, that's a knock, but you could also flip that into a positive that he somehow convinced Wu. Also, that this is the last final 2 we've ever had in the show. It shouldn't have been a final 2. He should have been there with Wu and Cass if there wasn't a medevac. So like he's got to final 3 against 2 people he can beat, which is the goal of the game. Oh, we had a medevac. We have to now change it to a final 2 last second. And guess what? He still finds a way without winning immunity to convince somebody that he's going to completely obliterate in the finals. Someone that likely wins the show if he chooses to bring Cass. Like that's why it's an all-time win. That's why it's so good. Yeah, I guess the flaws, would be a little frantic, a little chaotic, a little sloppy socially with the top 5 baby and just running around. Like he opened himself up to maybe some opportunities to either lose jury votes or to get sniped. But I mean, come on, I'm actually shocked I had him at 6. I'm like, why? I should have had him.
I mean, this is your favorite season. Well, Cagion's all you talk about. I'm shocked too.
Yeah, but I'm not like you where I'm like, oh, favorite season equals favorite winner.
Yeah, that's the only reason I did it. That was good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Jai is my favorite season. I'm just gonna put this guy as the top winner.
But if anybody listens to our Patreon content, we have to listen to how Kiefer Sutherland's character in 24 is like the greatest character of all time because Will likes 24. So just at least it doesn't translate.
Talk about Jack Bauer as a character. I think he's like a badass TV icon, but like in terms of like character arc,
can you show us the Jack Bauer tattoo that you have?
No.
Okay.
I cannot.
You cannot. Okay.
I think the other thing that's super impressive for me about Tony is how does he get through 11 through 7?
Trish.
Like he is such a pain in the ass to be around and like being cocky. Every other single person like Tony goes home at 9 or 8 or 7. Like you could literally go look at every Survivor cast and like War Dog, Joe Mena. These are the replicants of Tony. Go home at 9, 8, or 7. And it's like, this is where we get tired of the cocky guy who maybe it was Trish that helps him get through these spots, but it's something where like, that's so cool that normally this person flies too close to the sun, gets burned. I don't know if that's his winner potential that gets him through that or what, but it's something where that's why I think Cagayan is so dynamic, because usually it is Jeffra versus like Cass and Wu at the end, and you're like, this time it's Tony. You're like, okay, cool.
I also think Tony, like, people are kind of bringing it up in the chat and everything, but it's like Tony is one of those people where for all the mistakes he made when he sat at Final Tribal, he knew exactly how he had to argue it. And people didn't necessarily love to hear. I mean, I remember at the Cagayan reunion, it kind of gets ugly because Tony's so defensive because social media just happened and Tony wants everybody to respect his game. But I do feel like with Tony, he's able to explain exactly why he did everything to the point where people go, okay, this is actually kind of brilliant. We didn't realize that you were thinking on necessarily this level. Like, he's very, very, very good at pitching his own case. Somebody had said, explain the super idol just really quick. Essentially, he got the same idol. They call it the Tyler Perry idol, but he got the same idol that Terry had and that Yule had, where he could play it after the votes were read. Rather than doing that, though, he convinced them all that he could play it through Final 4. And he couldn't. He could only play it through Final 5. But because he had that idol, they all thought that he was not eligibly voted out of Final 4. And therefore, he's able to get to Final 3. And Spencer ultimately goes. And the way they talk about it at Final 4 is so funny. He's like, well, we can't vote for Tony. Yeah, obviously, we can't vote for Tony. I think it's just a known fact because nobody realized that Tony would lie about something like that.
Which is like ingenious. He also
ingenious.
he used the game rules. He like weaponized them. He did this earlier to Jeremiah when they had the raid the camp reward. So he went over to raid a couple items, but he also made up like, I'm going to give you a clue to the idol. And so he gives it to Jeremiah and then he has to run back, take the clue. So he basically just frames Jeremiah. Now everyone on that tribe is like, oh, Jeremiah definitely got a clue to the idol, but it's the wrong clue. It's not at this beach. Jeremiah can't really find the idol. He gets all this heat on him for no reason. And like, Tony's just thinking so far outside the box of like, what things can I do to accomplish the win, and like messing with the rules and pretending that production has given you like the rules of the idol, or like you have this idol clue. Like, no one had really thought to do that. And then also can't go Cagayan Tony without mentioning the spy shack. I mean, just thinking of ways like information's power. How do I get more information? Oh, I'm going to like hide in a bush and create a little hut where everyone talks by the well, and I'm going to get more information than people. I'll know what's happening in the game. I mean, just the ingenuity of how to play the game should be praised.
And another one too, and people lose this one because it happened so early, but realizing how much Cliff was essentially just, people were in awe of him and saying, okay, I can get rid of Cliff here with Trish, LJ, and Jeffrey. Let's just do it. And to vote out Cliff at whatever vote that is, 15 or 14, whatever it is, it's brilliant. And then it gets Lindsay to quit, which was also just like a benefit for him. But to go against his own tribe at the first tribal council he goes to, and to get rid of Cliff because he realized like, yo, if Cliff is here, Cliff is somebody who people will look up to, will follow. I don't want that. I want that guy to be me. And, you know, to take that kind of risk when him and Cliff could have easily just been buddies for a while. Tony always knew where people stood. And yeah, I think there's so much to love about this game. And again, that's why I just rank his Cagayan game higher than his winners at War Game. So
yeah,
good, like
the other thing that I think is hilarious and funny is this game is so good he gets voted out right after Sierra for voting out her mom. So yeah, it's something where it's like we other Survivor winners can come back on other seasons and let's keep them around. D can make it till merge. Tony, it was like, get him out as soon as the person who voted out her mom is gone. We can get rid of Tony as well. The other thing that I always find impressive is Tony's relationship with LJ, of like, hey, we're kind of two alpha male people, and he gets the best of LJ kind of, and LJ's like, instead of hate him forever and poison jury, he's like, nice job, dude. I'm voting for you.
Yeah. Let me hear it out. All right, we moving on to 4. We're going to be talking about Tony again soon. So moving on to 4.
Will, who do you think it is?
We're down to, for everybody listening at home who doesn't know, we're down to Earl, JT, Kim, and Tony.
I think it's
from winners
Kim.
at war. You think Kim's going to come in at 4?
Blake,
What
better
do you
not
think?
be Earl.
It's JT.
Oh, surprising.
Oh.
So this is okay.
Oh,
The difference
it's will
between
time.
1 and 4 is barely anything. So this is going to be interesting down the stretch here. We can argue the placements here because that's what we're supposed to do, but it's really close the whole way through. JT coming in here at number 4. Will, this was your number 1. Blake and I both ranked him at 8. John and McKenna ended up ranking JT at 7. Yeah, I mean, I understand JT as number 1. I get it. Like, I really do. I ranked him at 8, so he's a top 10 winner of all time for me. So I'm not really going to sit here and like talk negatively about him as like, why did I rank him so low? It's like I still ranked him at 8, and I feel like 8 is a very good placement. I don't think we have anybody left who anybody ranked outside of the top 10. So like we're at the praise point of the podcast. Will, why don't you go first since you have him at 1?
Yeah, I think JT's game stands out as an anomaly versus any other winning game. And this maybe could be used against him, but I'm using it as an argument for him. I say this all the time. Like, there's never a player on any season across 50 seasons of this show where like half of your competitors, half of the opponents that should be going against JT trying to win are actively helping JT win the game, which is just like insane social game because he is that likable. And I know JT is like with Steven, and Steven's often given like, oh, he's the strategic nerd with the glasses, the strategy guy. He did all the dirty work. He did the lines. If you watched it, they're working in tandem. JT isn't as dumb as like, oh, I'm a rancher farmer with a Southern accent and I need this city slicker to count numbers for me. As I stated when we talked about Hatch, like figuring out how many numbers is a majority within single digits is not like some complex math problem. JT was not completely reliant on Steven strategically. And you can see when it's the jury vote 7-0. I mean, no one was even saying, oh, well, Steven actually did all the dirty work, all the strategy for you. JT is, to me, in Token Chains, is like basically, I mean, it is a perfect game of Survivor. No one has played a better game of Survivor than JT in Token Chains. I could probably hear some arguments, but I don't know what more JT could have done correctly in terms of like getting every one of the other cast members, both on his tribe and on the other tribe, to be like, I am not voting JT out. I want to vote for him to win $1 million. That is the ultimate goal of Survivor. Get to the end, get the jury votes to win $1 million. He was playing in a way that his opponents did not want to vote him out and instead wanted to vote for him to win $1 million over themselves at some points, which is just insane.
Yeah, Brendan has that one quote, which is insane. My biggest knock on JT, and again, I have him in the top 10. I think I understand he plays a perfect game. I love JT's game. I love Token Chains, but the reason why I did ultimately rank 7 winners ahead of him, Will, you were talking about with Hatch earlier that you felt it was inevitable that somebody would have figured out the game in the way that Hatch did. To me, it's also inevitable that Timbiro was going to implode. And I know that it helped that JT was there to kind of drive the wrench or the knife in the back and twist it. But that Timbira tribe, they were so doomed. And so Jalapao being able to overcome the 6-3 disadvantage at final 9, that is one of those situations where I'm like, it helps that it was JT, but like, even if Joe had stayed in the game, that tribe, Timbira, was doomed. They hated each other. Like Sierra, Coach, Tyson and Coach got along. Sierra and Brendan did not like them at all. Aaron was not getting along with anybody. Debbie was just kind of there. Like, that tribe was not sticking together no matter what. This wasn't going to be a Kasaya 6 situation. So even though I find it unbelievably impressive that JT is able to overcome the 6-3 disadvantage, him and Steven and Taj, who always gets forgotten in this group, that's the only knock I really have there is like, is everything that happened in the early merge of this game, is it JT or is it because Timbira was just a cluster F at this point? And so JT, I mean, what he's able to do when Brendan says, I want this kid to win the game, my jaw just hits the floor because I'm like, this is insane. But at the end of the day, like, you know, like the people I had ahead of him, Todd, Tom, I did have Hatch, but I already explained Hatch here. Tony, like the people who I have ahead of him, like I don't have anybody that think people would be like, what the hell? Maybe with the exception of Chris, but I've already explained why I think Chris's game is where it belongs. So
yeah, there's also some discussion in the chat about like the end game, and I think JT there shows his strategic chops and social chops in terms of like final tribal council chops of like, okay, I know I can beat Steven, so I'm gonna win the immunity challenge. I'll take him in that final tribal council. Let's put some heat on Steven. If you win, do you take me or do you take Aaron? And then Steven has to think about it and says it would have been a hard decision. I think that's where Steven loses any potential jury votes he was getting. And JT completely set him up for that, which is like chef's kiss 7-0. I didn't receive like a single vote the whole time, and now I'm getting every single jury vote. It was kind of a masterclass in just like no one has gone onto a Survivor season in like just completely, utterly crushed and been, I am like, there's no other option at who's winning this season. It's me, then JT. I mean, maybe Kim would be the only other one, but like JT wholeheartedly is just like the heart and soul
and
of this
Kim
season.
is coming up. Yeah. Like that's
Yeah.
the level of echelon JT.
That's what it is. I mean, I think this cast is definitely a tougher cast. Maybe not them.
Yeah.
Maybe not a tougher cast to navigate. And I guess where I have JT ahead of Kim is that yes, Kim dominated like JT dominated, but JT dominated in a way where people were like actively like okay with going home so that JT could win. It's like another level of dominance, you know? So
it's so crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. You've never seen anything like it again. It's such an outlier of a Survivor game, and it like I don't know how you could step out onto a beach or a jungle or a mat at the start of a season and do anything like to just utterly have your enemies want you to win. It just doesn't exist in 50 seasons other than this season.
I think it's kind of admirable to see too, and I don't know if it's a broken record, but like games that I could never replicate myself are more impressive to me. And I think there's some games in the 50, like I that's something where it's like, it's kind of more, being on an island for 26 days seems easier to replicate. So not who I'm ranking kind of high, but it's so interesting to me because this is not how my life works, where JT is such a cool, positive person to be around that people are making insane, irrational decisions. And usually this is like true love. But none of these people are showmance with JT. And it's like such platonic, true love is coming towards JT and off of JT, where everybody is like, you're a really cool guy over there. It sucks that you lost a lot of challenges. I've been having to deal with Tyson this whole time. I've been having to deal with Coach this whole time. I don't really like Debbie. Aaron's driving me fucking crazy. Sierra, I had to listen to her talk forever. Like, I think JT is the number one weapon, like bunker buster into a group of people that don't like each other. The worst possible thing to stick together is someone like JT. Of everything about him is cooler, more interesting, nicer to be around than every member of Timbira. And it kind of does like, oh, it sucks that it's when it's 4 people left, it's 3 Jalapao, and you're like, oh, they just imploded. But I think it's JT's likability, Steven's strategic, like, let's do it in this order. And then it's just really fun to also be around Taj. And so it's like they're working together in tandem, but those people, Taj and Steven, are never planning on eliminating JT and going together to the end.
Facts.
And I think there's enough seasons of Survivor where that seems like kind of like not basic, but like that seems like most people would make that decision of, we love JT, but we came here for the money. Taj and Steven have to figure this out. Or I guess I have to do this and hang out with Aaron. But even then, it's too late. He'll win the immunities.
he was so good. Like what I said with Todd too, he was so good at understanding everybody so well because everybody was willing to open up to him. When he sends Coach to Exile Island and says, "Let's do the honorable thing, Coach. Let's let's be honorable." You see JT do that with everybody the whole season of like what is most important to them. When he goes to Sierra, it's about how awful Debbie is, right? It's not about Coach because you don't want that getting back to Coach. But even if it does, he'll just be like, yeah, she lied about that. When he goes to Tyson, it's about how awful Sierra is. When he goes to, like, it's just this nonstop cycle of him being so good. And, we talked about social game earlier with Sandra. JT has the strategic game. I think he honestly has a better strategic game than people give credit because they want to give it all the credit to Steven. But that social game that he plays is just absurd. I don't know if it would have worked with another cast. I don't know if they're going to be blinded by it, but it's crazy.
It's also absurd that he goes to a reward with Steven and comes back with 0 target.
0.
And then I kind of want to do something else. And I think it's because I love JT. Him going on future seasons and not nailing it and getting targeted and not getting out of it, I think is because like this is how much his missed. We use Dan's missed in Big Brother. I feel like JT has the best mist of Survivor history. So when you know that that's the deal, you fight it and you go, we got to get this guy out. Or you fight it and you go, he won once already, we got to get him out. Like he's first out of the heroes because he is the one with the most potential. And then whenever he shows up on Game Changers and he just has one of the worst layers of a winner of all time, it's something where people are so aware of what the Venus flytrap is doing, we don't even touch the Venus flytrap. We're eliminating it.
And I know that this isn't this podcast, and we're going to move on to number 3 in just a second, but I'm just going to say this again. JT's move in Heroes versus Villains isn't a bad move. Nobody knew who Russell was. Like, I hate that whenever you talk about JT as a winner. It's like, yeah, he was fine in Tocantins, but they were blinded. Did you see him in Heroes Villains? It's like, JT was going to work with Coach and Tyson if they made the merge. Like those were normal villains. They didn't realize that Russell was actually crazy and was not going to be a normal villain. Every other villain on that show was normal. So yeah, JT was thinking, oh, Russell's probably like Courtney, probably like Tyson, probably like Coach. I want to work with those people in the second half of the game. His move to give the idol over to Russell, thinking that was going to actually solidify his 6-4 is not bad. Game Changers, Sandra beats the shit out of him. No, that's essentially what happens.
But I'm not trying to get the last word, but I think
you are.
I think the most exciting thing was like this is the most like platonic love. Like whenever I said that, I feel like that is just never true in 50 seasons and feels the most true here.
Yeah,
where you're like,
that's the soul.
Like, how do you
the essence and soul of the game?
Yeah,
platonic love. You guys ready? Love. So JT is gone.
No,
that's it. Will's number 1. So all 3 of our number 1s are out. John McKenna's number 1 is still alive. And we're down to Earl and Kim and Tony from Winners at War.
I bet you their number 1 is Kim, and she shows up in 3rd right here.
Wow. It's Earl.
Fuck. No.
Blake coming in with Earl at the highest ranking at number 2. Will, you had the lowest there at number 9. I had Earl at number 7, I believe. Let me just make sure that's confirmed. Yes, I had Earl at 7, and then John McKenna had Earl at 4. So Earl comes in here at number 3, 1 vote away from playing a perfect game. So JT does play the first perfect game. Cochran plays the second.
Freaking Rita.
Wait, real quick. Cochran played the second perfect game, which was good enough for a 36th ranking from Blake. But here's Earl, 1 vote away, a vote that's actually not shown on the season. So Jeff incorrectly says that it is a perfect game. I mean, Blake, you're the highest. Will, you're the lowest. I know this is kind of the same situation that we talked about before with JT, where it's like I don't want to harp on negatives with Earl because we've had them all ranked in the top 10. So Will, you came in there at 9. Go ahead.
Yeah, 9. Yeah, I think Earl is definitely a top 10 winner. The knocks here aren't many. I think one is like having Yao-Man be your wingman so late, and like if Yao-Man's able to get to final 3, I think the money would say Yao Man's taking home the title of Sole Survivor. I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk or anything. You could do this with a number of the Malcolm Denise thing. I said, look, I think there's a chance Denise can even beat Malcolm. People said I was crazy. I don't know. We don't know these things. We don't know how the final tribal council would have gone. Having someone who is that much of a threat get all the way to fourth place for Yao Man. That's a little risky, that's maybe one flaw. And then I think we have been talking about, cast quality and do you have a competitive cast that you're playing around? And we know that Fiji was a season of mostly recruits that don't know the game all that well. And maybe that makes it easier to play, but that could also be used as a positive because Earl himself was a recruit who did not know the game that well. And he was able to naturally pick it up and figure out this is how you play, this is how you treat people, this is how you navigate the game of Survivor, and he did that without really knowing what's come before it. So that's also very impressive. So I mean, those are your knocks on Earl. Not many there. 10-0-0. I mean, Earl is like an exemplary winner of Survivor.
Yeah, the thing with Earl too is I think because of how popular Yao Man was at the time and because of how unpopular this season is in the grand scheme of the community. I know like some people have turned on Fiji in a positive way recently, but in the grand scheme, people aren't going back and rewatching Fiji.
I like it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it on a rewatch.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hate it way more. I have it higher than a number of seasons, which I was very surprised.
Exactly. And I think Vanuatu is not a very popular season. People don't really remember Chris. Fiji's not a very popular season. So with Earl, the interesting thing is here, I think people all know that Earl plays a great game. So to see him pop up at number 3 here wouldn't shock anybody. But I do think that some people will knock Earl because they think Yao Man, like the season is Yao Man's. On the rewatch of Fiji that we did not too long ago, I was genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed Earl as like a character on the screen. And I think that is something that gets missed with him a little bit. He's really, 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 really entertaining. He's not all time like Tony, but he is very charismatic. He deals with all the bullshit from the 4 horsemen and stuff so well the entire season. Like on a cast that is so many negative personalities and so many meanies, Earl's just Earl. He's just that guy. He's just somebody that you're like, okay, let's go to Earl for a confessional so I can smile for a second. And he does a great job, but his strategy is also fantastic. Him and Yao Man work hand in hand the entire season. Being that they were from the Have-Nots tribe is also huge. I mean, that had to be great for the algorithm, Will. No, I mean, Earl goes to a lot of tribal councils on the season.
Algorithm, let's see.
Boo Burness was king of the algorithm one way.
Did you guys see Boo Burness, Russell, and James Clement together?
I didn't know yesterday? Boo was there, but I saw James. It was crazy.
Yeah, yesterday.
Earl, dude, algorithm didn't love Earl.
Oh God,
the algorithm.
It's nothing if not inconsistent.
Hold on. Yeah, the algorithm had Earl at 18.
Okay, I mean that's not terrible though. Anything top 21 is great because that's right, Jeremy.
And then I had Earl at number 2 in my personals, and that got him up to 9.
Okay.
So I love Earl.
Clearly. What makes you put him at 2, Will? Because you said some negative stuff. You personally say 2. Why is that?
I think he's one of the most naturally gifted Survivor players, and he's only played once. Like this is a pure form of, because it's recruit heavy, and I know I use that to argue against him because the algorithm docked him, and then I don't know why the algorithm docked him. He's 10-0-0.
None of us
that I think doing a heavy recruit season this deep into the show's run is actually rather interesting, and I would even like to see it. Like if season 53 is like, we put 18 people who have never seen Survivor, like I would sign up and watch that, and like who naturally gravitates towards the game. And I think Earl is just picked up on exactly what it means to be a good Survivor player. Again, the Yao Man opening's there for sure, but in terms of just coming out and making this his winning season, one try against people, he looked like I don't know, is this a rumor? But the rumor is he didn't watch any Survivor before playing, and then plays one of the best games of all time. I find that so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I don't think he watched the thing. Was it really 9:00? I thought it was 10:00. I just assumed it was 10:00 and just typed that in this morning. Maybe I messed that up.
Yeah, why are you coming at Will here?
You don't have it memorized?
Is it not? I was looking them all up, but I just thought all of the shutouts. I thought it was 10-0.
Let's see.
Give it a look, Will.
I will say Earl is the coolest person who has ever played Survivor. He is the coolest
Wow.
dude. I think it's something where there's shades of what I was saying with Chris Daughtry of like Dougherty. Sorry, Chris Daughtry is a person on.
And nobody really knows how to
show.
say Doherty's last name.
Doherty.
The
Chris
singer?
Dees. So Earl was dealing with some of the most annoying personalities in the history of the show at this point. Like murderer's row of I can't imagine, like at this point we've already seen Guatemala where Jamie and Bobby John are yelling at each other from other tribes. There's annoying people on his tribe. There's annoying people that consistently beat him because they get to go and sleep in beds and he's literally in the worst like thing of all time. I don't think Earl is angry or negative or frowning in any episode of the show. And I think it's something too where it's like, why are we just saying like good people are good at Survivor? And it's like, oh, well, whenever you like have like a halo around you or angelic presence, it's just like stuff is falling in for you. And like, what I like about Earl is he doesn't see Yao Man as a threat. He sees him as an asset. And all these people are like, Yao's kind of like, oh, we're going to let this old man tell us. And he's like, yeah, he's the coolest. Dreams is very hard to maneuver with. Who does Dreams never betray? It probably makes sense for Dreams to betray Earl because Earl's so much more liked. And it's like, he's not getting betrayed. I don't know his relationship with Cassandra because it's really not important of like, it's not like Earl and Cassandra are like, we're doing this from day one because they were on separate tribes, but they hook up midway through or whatever. I think Earl is pound for pound. Like it's so annoying to me that him and Todd have not shown up on another season. I think that's why they're my 1 and 2 because they are such a pure experience of their first season and there isn't a thing for them to recontextualize it or for them to kind of like, oh, maybe Earl isn't the coolest mother effer of all time because he gets in a fight on day 1 with somebody else. And then you're like, oh, Earl, I thought you were different. But every time Earl is maybe in a cast, I was like, oh my gosh, thank God. It's so funny too. Like some of my favorite moments are him doing a dance challenge. And like, that's where they break through. And it's because Earl is just so cool. Even the tribal people are impressed by Earl or whatever. And he's sound. I don't think he ever gets like out strategized at all. Like he's very aware of what's going on and what he needs to do and say. He's cool as a cucumber at tribal councils. And I think it's just something where it's so impressive to me. And now this is the second layer of, I said this about Todd, something I did growing up and kind of still do. I cheered, like Issa Rae said this in 2017. Who are you rooting for? For me, it's everybody black. Some of my favorite contestants of all times are Sean Rector. And it was like, this means something to me. I don't know why. As a 4th grader, 8th grader watching these things, Earl being the first black male winner was very cool. And something that I think was a major moment for the show of some of the black guys that have been on the show have had, you can go watch of like, I feel like I was unfairly edited. It feels like I was put in a box. And Earl just coming through that and just pounding through that and having one of the coolest seasons and one of the most dominant wins of all time of like, look how cool, look how confident a black man can be on this show. And we're not cutting him down at the knees. We're not making him feel bad about it. We are just showing how cool, how powerful, how whatever a black man can be and take this in one of the most dominant fashions up until this point. There's not a person on this list this high up before him. This is the coolest, most dominant win. Yes, maybe you don't like Fiji, but in our minds, there's not somebody from before Earl that's set this. So like a dominant win, if you want to dominate, where can you go find the blueprint? It's Earl. And it was just so cool watching that. And whenever I was that age of what was that? That was like, I'm like 17 in high school. I'm 17 in high school. Usually the black guys go home because they're a threat, or oh, they didn't gel well or whatever, or some kind of bullshit reason that we're just editing. It was so cool to watch Earl just completely dominate this season, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate all of that, and yeah, I mean, easy cast though, Blake. I mean, I'm just saying you kind of use that as a knock against Cochran. So
Who is going to be Earl on this season?
are you saying Cochran's not the coolest? Anyway, we got to do the top two. We don't need to hear who would have beaten Earl on this season because there's one, and it was Yowman, and that's it, and that's even a maybe. That's not even a guarantee. I think Yowman still says that Earl would have beaten him.
Wow, man.
I did a speech project on how cool Earl was in college too, and I got an A on
that's your word. That's your word of the podcast, by the way, is cool. You've been everybody's been cool today. So
I'm just having
we got the top 10 Survivor ones.
Yeah, the cool. We should just do the cool Survivor. Earl Cool, not Cole. All right, we're at the top two. Obviously, I'm going to show two first and then one. So final predictions. We got Kim and Tony from Winners at War. Who's two? Who's one?
I think Kim's got to be a two.
Kim is two. Tony Winners at War is the best win of all time.
So what's interesting about this is that none of us actually put Kim at number one, but also none of us put Kim very low. And this is where Tony, being Tony and having two wins, I think threw us all off because it got two of them in the top five.
Oh my God.
It also got Tony at two.
That's kind of cool. Cool.
So Tony is two. That means Kim is going to be one. Tony Winners at War at two. And that means John McKenna had him ranked at one. We had four different lists. None of the number ones ended up at number one, but we all had Kim in our top four, which is why Kim ultimately comes in at number one. And I think that's what's interesting when you're doing a list like this, because if we're all doing our own personal rankings, none of us put Kim at one. But when you add them all together, nobody disrespects Kim's game. And I actually think that that's pretty much how most of the community feels. Like you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's going to rank Kim outside of the top 10, I would think. And the top 5 is probably even tough. And I mean, Blake's over here just ranking her really, really high because she had such an easy cast. But let's talk about Tony Winners at War first. Lehigh Valley Bear says we blew it. I didn't blow shit. I'm just sitting here hanging out, having a nice time. I ranked her at 4. I didn't do anything. So Tony,
the
number 2.
Blew it.
What'd you say? Yeah, the
algorithm blew it. The algorithm had Kim at 3. So
yeah, well, Will, you know where you ranked her, right?
2.
Which means you actually ranked her higher than the algorithm.
No, I didn't. Actually had her lower, but because of the different, it doesn't work. It just because she went up from it's a whole math problem. So
Tony Winners at War, Blake had him at 3. I had him at 9. John McKenna had him at 1. Will, you had him at 4. And then we'll get to Kim in a second. So look, like I said, I've already talked about Kagi on Tony. I find that to be the more impressive game. I think that there's some great moments of the Winners at War game. I think what Tony does where he's holding himself back, being more reserved, doing that very purposefully is great. We talk about this a lot though. There had to be a second 2-time winner in Winners at War. And Tony does a great job of manipulating pretty much everybody around him. But this is extortion thing that's coming from Edge of Extinction, right? So that's something that's like not really in his hands. It ends up helping him, but still, I don't know. That's my knock against him. That's really the only knock I have. I just prefer the Kagion game more. I think it's like a more purely authentic version of Tony. It's more aggressive. It's more all over the place. A lot of people on Winners at War disappointed the hell out of me. I felt like they came out and they weren't playing as hard as they should have been. Tony felt like he was running circles around everybody. It's a great game. Like, I understand why it would be ranked 1. I understand why everybody has it really, really high. For me personally, just with it being his second game and like, I don't know. I just rank it lower.
That's third time playing. The algorithm doesn't give you bonus points for that. Yeah, I think I do have Tony's Winners at War game higher, and for one main reason, and that is threat level. And I don't want to hear, well, it's Winners at War. They're all winners. They're all on an even playing field.
You hear the threat level arguments, Will? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt this, but this is the point. Everybody who says he wasn't a threat because of his Game Changers game.
No,
that's nonsense. And people say that like it's fact, and it's just
no.
crazy.
No.
Okay.
like, and I was saying is sometimes you'll hear, oh, well, it's winners at war. Everyone's on the same level. They're all winners. So you can't be more threatening than the next. It's like that couldn't be farther from the truth. Especially if you look at like the amount of recent winners that were put on, like you have Tony or Nick Wilson. Who are you more threatened by? You have Tony or Ben Driebergen. Who are you more threatened by? You have Tony or Michelle. Who are you more threatened by? You have Tony or Adam. Who are you more threatened by? Tony or Wendell. Who are you more threatened by? Tony or Jeremy. Who are you more threatened by? And then you have some of these, older school. You have Yule and you have Ethan and Parv. You have Boston Rob. So like, it's a great mix. I'm not saying Tony entered with like the highest threat level. I don't want to make that claim, but out of the 20 winners, where does Tony sit entering winners at war in terms of threat level? Top 5, top 25% of the cast in terms of who is going to be threatening to other players out there. I'm more threatened by Tony than I am Natalie Anderson. That's for sure. Like Denise, Danny, Amber, are you more threatened by those? Or are you more threatened by Tony? Tony, every time. That to me is why this win is just so impressive. I know we like and we value the first time game. It's more pure, but you could say on Cagayan, Tony comes in with no one knows each other yet. So Tony's coming in with a blank slate. Tony doesn't have a blank slate. Tony's slate is chock full of get this person out. This person's crazy. This person will upend my game. This person's chaotic. This person can win. This person will take me out. And the fact that he is able to get to the end and that he's able to like, I need to like rewatch this season, and we're getting there soon. And every season matters, but like, how did this happen? Like, this is like mind boggling how Tony, with everyone saw him win 28, and that's not that long. It's only like 6 years ago when this season shot. Like, how did they let him get to the end? It's just, it's insane. I don't understand it.
I also feel like, Will, when you're talking about who was a bigger threat than him, I think people would say Sandra because she had won twice, Boston Rob, Parv, like Tyson, maybe even those were the names that would come up. But like at the same time, you know what they're all going to do as well. Like there's definitely people who would find Tony to be the biggest threat out there because Tony's all over. That's what John is saying here. I'd argue that a player with a chaotic reputation is one of the most dangerous players to play with. Like, what Boston Rob is going to do. You just have to prevent him from getting control and doing it. Tony, he's all over. I mean, he was trying to build a spy grave in season 34. Like, you never know what he's going to do. So, yeah. And then Edge of Extinction actually worked really hard against Tony. Like, we talked about this a little bit where it's, he gets the advantage that I was talking about as like a potential negative, but it's making him lose a vote, or does he get his vote back? Right? Like, it's like Tony's not going to vote if he doesn't manage to complete the extortion thing. And then he has Natalie come back into the game, having all of the information about everybody in the end game. And it's like, that's crazy. Like that is crazy. And Tony's still able to overcome that. Yes, he wins 12-4-0. So I'm sure the algorithm was like, oh, we have to praise you for getting 12 jury votes. Nobody else was able to do that.
No, because it's based on, it's not a percentage.
Obviously. So and then he gets 75% because Jeremy, who played the whole game with Tony, votes for Natalie Anderson. And we're supposed to be like, oh, Natalie's so great at Survivor.
The algorithm loved winners at war, Tony.
If he didn't vote for Natalie, they probably would not be going to Thanksgiving together still.
Natalie still thinks she should have won that season. So
so does Russell probably.
Tony was 15 for winners at war, Tony, 14 for 28, Tony.
Tony V, the second time around, the second win is so impressive to me for the following reasons. Homeboy should have been gone at like 17, 16. Like anytime they lost, I don't know how Tony gets through stuff. And I think it is something where I don't know if you can, I would not want to whip votes against Sari. I would also not want to whip votes against Tony. So it is something where it's like, it's probably not Parvati either. Who's the other person on Mount Rushmore? Probably not Boston Rob. This one's a little bit easier sell because his wife's in the game. But there's certain people that, how did they not go home? And it's because they're so hard to go against, because if they get a whiff of that you're against them, you're freaking toast. I think Tony is like the godfather layer of that, of like, It's not worth going against him. Maybe we can outmaneuver him at the end. And I know that that isn't the easy way through this. That is like, that's a persona thing. That's every time. I think it's so impressive to hear the stuff whenever he says stuff of like, why is he the greatest player in Survivor history? He's 2 wins in the top 5. I think we can say he's the greatest player in Survivor history. And whenever he does say stuff of like, I made sure to kneel in front of people that I think would think I was threatening, so I would appear smaller. I made sure to never talk down to people visually, or I made sure to always be positive when talking about certain things and certain players. It's like, you're hungry. I'm looking for idols. That isn't going through Tony's mind. He's playing the game all 24 hours of every day, and it's something that is so impressive. We're playing for $2 million too. I think that's one thing where it's like, it's so impressive to me that Tony is maybe one of the only people that can kick your ass at the final tribal based on story alone. Of like, I have one of the most impressive wins of all time. How am I at this final tribal? And like, we need to win $2 million at the end. It's kind of the same idea as Aubrey has a better story than the 2 men against her in 50. And like, Tony is the story that you need to get out of there before the end. And they still don't recognize do that. Is it because they've been in such a good alliance with them the whole time? Is it Sarah and him have an unbreakable bond? How unbreakable bond is him and Sarah's bond? Or would Tony have made that decision if he had to? And it's something where it's, thank God he won Fire and has this win, because I would hate to live in it. And it kind of sucks that some of this was a little spoiled. So I didn't get to watch this live. I knew Tony won probably like 2 months before it actually happened. And I was like, there's no freaking way.
That's a normal Survivor season for you.
How does he do it? And it was so cool to watch it happen of like, all right, he's making the move on Sophie before she can get to him, because Sophie is the one that will go after Tony eventually. And it's one of those funny things of like, oh, it was final 19. We had to make a move. Like, Sophie's very early on in the merge relative. She's like 10.
She goes out in a 4-3-2 vote, I think it is.
4-3-2 vote with all winners is insane.
Yeah, I think it's
that's
4-3-2.
Like, that's probably has to be top 3 most impressive votes in the history of the game, just based on all the moving parts of that shit.
Yeah.
That's why Tony wins. I think that's why why is he 2 instead of 1 for everything we're about to say about Kim? But like, oh, what would you do? Because he beats Kim in this thing or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
But you're like, I think what he's doing when everybody has this amount of threat level is so impressive. And I don't see how you could have Tony's Winner at War Game not in your top 5 if you're ranking all 50 of these.
I ranked at 9. I see it. You guys ready to talk about Kim?
Sure.
All right.
Why 9, Phil?
I had already talked about it. I just like when people say I can't see it, and then when Will said I can't see outside of the top 15, and then had personally ranked a player at 16 who he said
she
that
didn't
about.
get 2 votes.
No.
Well,
and she's number 1
with the algorithm.
Number 1, Kim Spradlin, One World, beats Sabrina and Chelsea 7-2, gets 3 votes against in the season, is never actually in danger of ever being voted out. Also, the One World cast photos were atrocious, dude. I had to zoom in so far on this one. It's so bad. It was like a full body, but like it was like from 3.5 miles away. Will with the highest ranking at 2. John and McKenna had her at 3. Blake and I had her at 4. Look, here's the deal. I think with Kim, what it really comes down to is there is no knock against her game, except for that the One World cast is atrocious. The One World cast is so unbelievably bad.
Worst 9 men cast in the history of the show.
Yeah, and it's the one knock against Kim. Aside from that, though, like she literally just takes over from the start and does not stop from beginning to end, and it's just the whole way through. Like, what's Kim's worst move? There is no bad move because she's purely dominating the game from the start. She gets Troyzan in her pocket. When Troyzan realizes he's out of pocket, she still has Jay in her pocket to do both of them. Like, it is so crazy how easy she was able to manipulate everybody, the way she was able to manipulate all of the women in the game too. I know the men get listed as like the dumbest of all time. she totally dupes, which, at the time, duping Kat wasn't a big deal, but like the way she handles Kat and Christina.
Or Alicia and
Sabrina
Christina,
and
like
Alicia,
totally duped them.
I mean, they're bad players, but she does what she has to do. And this is where, like, I don't know how many people would actually rank her number one, because none of us did. But if you are going to create something, everybody's going to have a knock for other players. Like if you get enough people, every winner is going to have knocks. Kim's just aren't big enough to say, oh, she can't be in the top 5. Why? Because of just her cast? Okay, but she dominated that cast. There's other people who play with really easy casts and not one. So anyway, that's what I have to say. I mean, I have her at 4. Blake has her at 4. We're the 2 lowest here, so God forbid.
Yeah, why are you guys so low on Kim?
Yeah, I know. What a gap. 2 to 4.
Yeah, I mean, man. The algorithm obviously loves Kim. I don't think I would have had her at 2, but it is fitting, I think, for my rankings at least. I have JT 1 and Kim 2 because those are the only 2 players that like first time just transcend their whole cast to be like, here you go, you get to win the game, and just like hand it to them. And I know you could say, oh, well, they're handed a win, but that's because of who they are and how they're playing that it appears so effortless. And to get so many people to trust in you and be on your side, where everyone knows there's only one winner. Like this is not a secret. Like even in season 1, it wasn't a secret. There's going to be a sole survivor. And so to have just utter control and dominance and support from everyone around you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're really, you cannot even be like, oh, well, that final 9 vote, if it went like, there's not really any really round here where you're like, man, if this thing didn't go exactly right, Kim, it's like, no, Kim had this thing, taking it to the bank, waltzing into final 3 with the victory from so far out that it's a detriment to the season. It's one of my least favorite seasons to watch. It's one of the few seasons on a rewatch I can't even like get through it because you're like, okay, like the dude's got played, Kim's got it. Like, what do I need to watch from like final 8 on? Like pretty much nothing. Yeah. But that speaks to how just insanely good of a win this is.
And Kim's other thing probably what was the closest she had to going out was when Troyzan does play his idol, because Troyzan plays his idol at that moment and he ends up voting for Kim at that tribal, and he tries to convince the other men to do it. And Jay's like, I like Kim. I better go tell Kim what's going on. And it's like, oh my God, dude, like, what are you doing, Jay? With just like an absolute bozo move. That was probably the closest she had to going out. But again, it's like we talked about with Jeremy earlier. She had such a good relationship with everybody and was able to manipulate them so easily that Jay does go tell her that she's about to get votes. And it works. Mm-hmm. Like she finds out, and that's great for her. I mean, I'm not surprised Kim came in as our number 1. The difference between her and Tony was small, but I'm not surprised that it ultimately was Kim.
All right, Kim, for me, what I think is funny, Kim plays so well it makes the season unwatchable. And I think that's one of the only like 2 times I could say that about a winner or a season. She is so good, and nobody, I don't know why they're not aware of it. Or I don't, whenever it was the final 3 morning, it's like, we're cooking up our final 3 breakfast, and having Sabrina like, oh, it's going to be a hard fought thing. I was like, you are out of your element. Like Chelsea is like, all right, I'm going to do my best. I'm like, this is not even fun to be coherent in or whatever. I think Kim is like the strongest winner legitimately. Like this is why this is happening. Why did you put her at 4? And it's like, I can't, even though I don't like this season, and Kim is not like what I usually enjoy in a winner, because I kind of like some more pizzazz or some more like Winky or like Todd, Earl, some of those other people own somebody directly hardcore. Like Todd owns John Robert at Final Tribal. Kim is so nice and so whatever. I think maybe she has an own, but I can't remember because it's not my favorite. I don't know. It's something where Kim is so good that like, oh, she's never losing her temper. We've been saying this a lot for the top 10. Her cast is not fun people to be around. Like she has to deal with like Colton's over there causing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. She has to deal with Kat being insecure every 5 seconds. Imagine being on the same tribe as Alicia for 35 days. Imagine like Christina Cha is on the same tribe as you for 30 some days. And you're like, oh, who do I have? I need to get away from those girls. Who do I have to go talk to? Tarzan and Leaf and Troyzan. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go. She probably got water and twigs 8 times a day just for peace of mind. But I never saw her squirm. I never saw her frown. I never saw like. I think that's something of, if you're learning anything from this top 5, top 10, like how do you win Survivor? You're just pleasant to be around and not let anything make you mad. And you'll beat 80% of the people in your cast. You'll be at the final 5. Maybe people will recognize how strong you are as maybe a jury threat because it's season 50 something. But if you're going on Survivor and you're the fun person to be around, and you're not, Jeff, screw you, and you're not like, oh, I'm so hungry. Like, I don't think, what was the worst thing that happened to Kim in 39 days? And it was like, oh, she maybe didn't get to talk to, like, wasn't her swap tribe like one of the strongest swap tribes of all time?
Yeah, it was insanely dominant.
Like,
and they
literally,
didn't lose.
we don't even have to pretend we're going to like crush this other team. Like, she's on cruise control from day one. And it's so envious. Like, I whenever you dream about going on Survivor, if you dreamed Kim Spradlin's game, you would wake up being, wow, that was so unrealistic. I wish my dreams were more humble. Like, her game is so good and so like, and why is it not whatchamacallit? Maybe some of these people have more game theory than the men of One World. But like, if it was Colton that was gonna go against her and ruin everything, oh, she got saved by a metamech is maybe the one thing you could
which
maybe say
true.
Of she didn't have to go after Colton and outmaneuver him. I have full faith Kim would have eliminated Colton in probably the most embarrassing way, and it would have been the best moment of One World. So like, I have full faith in Kim that would have been cool if it had happened.
Yeah. And some people in the chat were like, well, what about Boston Rob then? Because this cast is terrible. This is Kim's first time playing, just like everybody else's. Boston Rob was on his 4th try.
Boston Rob has the celebrity to do some
Boston Rob knows how Survivor works literally behind the scenes. Kim does not know that when she's coming out to play. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. So Kim at 1, Tony Winners at War at 2. Ultimately, I don't think that's really, I know our chat, everybody's gonna have their own opinion on who's number 1. That's always gonna be controversial, but I don't feel like it's that controversial of an end here, unfortunately. You know,
this always happens, like we kind of said with like group rankings, like the least offensive often gets the number 1 spot, and like there's nothing to be offended by Kim's. Like, there's no really true knock other than
lowest ranking 4.
That's it,
and
I'm had her at 1.
I'm saying what I just said as I'm the worst ranker. Like, the pedigree is insane. And like, I could get maybe of this top 10, like, I don't like Rich because blank, or I thought JT was overrated because blank. Kim Spradlin, I think the most I could say is I wish there was 9 men for her to outmaneuver, because it was like that is the most ragtag group of men of all time. But that's all I can say.
I'm taking her off. There you go. So that's our winner rankings. That's it. We're done with the series. That's crazy. All 50 winners have been ranked. So if you haven't checked out all the other episodes, make sure you go check them all out. The links are in the description for this video. I will be back on Thursday and Friday, finishing out the Winning Survivor series with Once Upon an Island. It'll be late Thursday night, and then Friday around like 9 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to knock it out early in the morning. And then I'm out for the first week of August. I don't think we're going to have anything going on the first week of August. Maybe John and McKenna will have a bitter or better coming out then. And then, you know, we'll be back in the second week of August live on YouTube with some other stuff. We got to figure out what our next series is going to be, or whatever's going to happen. I mean, they got to be doing the cast not too long after that, right? But that's it. Anything stand out to you guys before we leave? Any last words about the winner rankings? Any final things, advice to Survivor 51?
There's no right answer on the winner rankings. It's a fun exercise, but ultimately it's difficult, and there's rank them yourselves. Have fun with it, but you're gonna have to put somebody at 38. You'd be like, wow, who do I put at 38? That person's actually really good at Survivor. Like,
Yeah.
it's a tough thing. I had a lot of fun doing this. I had a lot of fun with the algorithm. I thought it'd be a good way to mix it up. And hopefully we had some good conversations that you enjoyed.
There you go. Blake, final words.
My 38 was Savannah Louie.
There
Great
you go.
winner. Like, who did I have 38? I don't know. I just pulled, that was a random number because it's like low and hold on.
Oh yeah, John and McKenna and Alex Trias are going to do the challenge in August.
Wait, I had Savannah at 38 also.
What did I learn from ranking 50 with over 5 weeks with 5 rankers? I learned that I think we all value certain things about winners. The cool as a cucumber is not teachable. I think teaching strategy is teachable, and you can literally see that on the screen or on the page. So I think if you're going on Survivor, have a thought process about the strategy, but get into a Zen state and
a Zen state
go
state for sure.
Go as hard as possible.
A Zen state soon.
Wow, we are not sponsored by Zen, Will.
Yeah.
Anyway,
smuggle those on to Survivor.
Yeah, that's it. I really enjoyed this series as well. We always talked about how ranking winners was gonna, there's no right way to do it, as Will said, and it was funny early on. We were getting some controversial comments over on our social medias too. And
our bottom 10 was rage bait, where it's like, wait,
I know, and it's like
Chris
guys,
Underwood, Bob, Fabio, Natalie,
Yeah.
what are we talking?
What are we doing? Yeah, so I'm happy with how this worked out, though. I think this is a really solid top 10, and yeah, that's it. So let us know in the comments what you think. Who's your number one? That's it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a patron, patreon.com/specialist. We're talking about game changers right now for Every Season Matters and a bunch of other stuff. So thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.